Okay, so this interview is quite long. It is about 4 hours long. I'm going to put chapters in this video so you can skip ahead if you would like to and watch the parts that you're interested in or whatnot. This is a guy I've been talking to for quite a while behind the scenes. He is very knowledgeable in how BATTLEYE and BSG do things because he's someone who's involved in the cheat community and he's involved in all that sort of stuff. And he's basically a person who it's basically his job to code around BSG and BATTLEYE, and it's you know it's not a good business that he's in. He knows that, and he did spend a good 4 hours talking with me, and this does have a lot of good information in this video. If you do play Tarkov, he's also a Tarkov player who plays legit and has cheated also, but he does love the game. He does have a genuine. He does like the game, um, and you know, even though he does what he does, he still, you know, a lot of stuff he says in this interview is it's really like yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, so check it out. The audio is probably not the best. This was all recorded. It was like, I don't know, it was nighttime for me and it was morning for him, and basically we just post record and just had a chat for a couple of hours. Which we usually do here and there over the last, I think, like, I don't know, 5 months now. Very knowledgeable guy. Definitely, if you don't want to watch the entire thing because it's so long, just use the chapters and skip forward to what information or whatever you want to listen to. Enjoy the video. Yeah. Yo, hello.
Hello.
What's going on? Let me just set this up one sec. What have you been up to?
Oh, dude, I was working, but my friend is he had to like quickly leave for an emergency, so I've just basically been stuck by myself for the past like 5 hours.
Yeah. All right. So I just gotta say this for the start of the video. So basically, this is all going to go on YouTube, okay? So
Hmm.
you know, we've had discussions before this, private discussions and whatnot. Um, but I'm just going to say what we're about to say is going to go on YouTube. Um, so you know, I obviously can't say cheat names. I can't say websites. I can't say anything promotional. Um,
Okay.
so whatever you want to say to me, that's going to be posted online. Obviously, what we discuss other than this is whatever, you know. But you know, whatever you want to discuss that you are fine with being public information is, you know,
Is this a recording or is this a live recording, right?
recording. I'm recording. Obviously,
Okay,
like
so if
I'll
I slip up and I say like a name, you can just blur it out, right? If I
yeah,
do it by accident.
yeah.
Okay.
But it's just
Okay.
I'll just say this. It's like it's more editing for me if I've got to go back through and redact a lot of shit.
I'll try. I'll try. Obviously, I'm trying not to, but if I do slip up, it might
Yeah, yeah,
happen. But maybe like one stops.
yeah.
Um.
If you just you know if you just say something, maybe just say, oh, just redact that. But obviously I'll have to
Yeah.
go back through and redact shit. But if you're trying to like make a point, or you're trying to say something, just say what you're trying to say, and then I'll just redact it later or whatever. That's fine.
Mhm.
But yeah. So I've sent you a copy of the questions and stuff. Now, what I want to say is before I start this, we've been speaking for a while. I've been talking to you for a while. I enjoy our conversations because you are someone who, you know, I've met a lot of people. Like I'm just someone who used cheats. Obviously, you know, I'm not someone who makes them or codes them or sells them and all that sort of stuff. But I enjoy our conversations because you're knowledgeable in all the different fields, as opposed to me as someone who just, you know, paid $5 and just used them, and you know, um, so we've I don't know, we've been talking for however long, but you know, like I've had a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about, and then you know, occasionally you meet people that do know what they're talking about and do have knowledge in that area, and you know, you do strike me as someone who knows what they're talking about. You don't beat
Mhm.
around the bush, you know. Um, so I've sent you the general outline. I don't really want to make it like
Mhm.
a, you know, I ask questions and then you answer kind of thing, like as if, you know, you're about to be under arrest and I'm a police officer interviewing you. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather,
Yeah,
you know,
it's fine. You can use it more like a structure, you know. So you
yeah,
can just
yeah,
use the kind of questions to build like a full interview and cover all the aspects and make sure you don't forget anything. Not
yeah.
asking the questions word for word and me answer. What does your life entail? Well, or today I just took a shit, and you know, then question two, it's like it's not going to make a very interesting interview. So I understand.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I want
It's
to
fine.
like, you know, I'd rather do this more of a conversation than like a formal,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, because I
No, I
just feel like
understand.
formal's boring. But anyway, um, so question one: where are you from? What do you do? And what does your life entail? But in saying that, just remember, you know, this is going to be public
Yeah.
knowledge. So as much as info as you want to give, as much as you're willing to give without, you know, yeah,
What does my life entail? I don't know. Well, I'll start off by saying that obviously, in anticipation for like a video like this, obviously I know I'm going to get a bunch of backlash from people. So obviously it's fine. I don't mind any comments. You know, it kind of comes with what we do. Um, Regarding my background, you know, as far as it goes, obviously you can hear my voice. I'm not really, you know, I don't really care about that. But it's more like, um. I guess I just call myself someone that likes to take things apart. I mean, like even when I was a kid, like I'd take apart toys and stuff like that, find batteries and see how things work. And you know, I remember I got my dad got me the first PlayStation,
yeah,
and you know, it kind of went from there. I got a lot of motivation when we had the first jailbreak of the PS3 that took place. That's when I really started to get into, you know, what you could do with hardware and stuff like that when you and software where you can kind of unlock things and allow to use it in whatever way you want with no restrictions, no control. It gave you the freedom to make whatever you want or do whatever you want. And obviously, at this kind of stage, it wasn't like I wouldn't consider myself a malicious, like kind of like way about it. It was more curiosity. It's kind of like what I was doing at school. I will give a bit of background. I was in a boarding school, so I'd see my parents like twice a year. Um, I will mention that. So I had a lot of time to like mess around with stuff and kind of go down different avenues and learn as much as I could. But yeah, video games and stuff like that really interest me, and I really haven't stopped with it now. I mean, I've been doing it for like what 12 years. So yeah, no, I do enjoy it, and that's kind of like a little bit of background about me. If there's any more questions you want to ask, you
yeah.
can ask
So
away.
I'm probably skipping ahead a few questions with this. This is something I want to ask you. So, like me
Mhm.
myself, I've played video games since I was like, I don't know, fuck, like 5, 6. Like I remember being like 6 playing Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation 1. So is
Mm.
that like a similar thing with you? Like you know, you've always played games, you've always,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Pretty much all of the PlayStations. I've never bought an Xbox. But all of the PlayStations I played, what I used to do was obviously because I was at boarding school, I'd have to sneak them into school. You weren't allowed to have them, so I built a system where I could fit the PlayStation under my desk in like a mount, which I made under the desk. So the teachers, if they came in, they're like, "Oh, are you doing your homework?" I could quickly like, it was obviously plugged into my laptop, so I could quickly unplug it, or you know what I mean, without a physical big console being on my desk, because it'd be a bit of a giveaway of what I was up to. Um, but yeah, like I've enjoyed video games for a long time, and I do appreciate them, and I really do appreciate the work that goes into them, and that's kind of something I'll expand on a bit later about what I think about the modern situation with video games and how things have evolved and the current issues and stuff like that we're facing as of right now. But going back to the past a little bit, I've always enjoyed it. I I never really started doing anything particularly malicious until I turned around about probably 17, 18, and I just became, I guess, I'd kind of done all of the innocent exploring, and it was kind of moving on to something more, um, how can I, get around, certain things that you can't do with this platform because of its system restrictions and all of that. So it's essentially like it kind of it kind of just went. I didn't even have a. I don't even think I don't even remember making the choice to do it. It just kind of happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And that's kind of how I got to where I am today, I guess, from there.
yeah, yeah. I remember with myself, it was like I remember, when I first bought a computer, and then people teaching me how to deactivate Windows and like when you're playing a game and deactivate Windows and you could use cheats and do all these things and it's like it's exciting, you know what I mean? But anyway, so we'll go on to point two. Um, so coming up to playing Tarkov and your how you progressed into Tarkov and with what you
Mhm.
do and whether you were doing it before Tarkov or whether you progressed before that or whether you just progressed for Tarkov or
It's it's kind of like, I guess what I would say is I started off before Tarkov. You don't just learn how to code and then somehow make, a fully capable cheat, a safe cheat, successfully reverse engineer the game, which is made on Unity, which is the obviously the engine of which they use. You can't just do that from learning, programming. I hear a lot of people talk and they say, "Oh, I want to learn how to code to make cheats," and I'm like, okay, so you're basically telling me that you don't know how to code as of right now. You want to learn and you want to take on, a state-of-the-art anti-cheat. I do believe that BATTLEYE is actually a competent anti-cheat. I don't think it's actually that bad. Um, the thing is like there's a they don't. I think a lot of these people go into it and they don't understand that that's like I try and give like an example. It's like passing your driving test and your first car's a McLaren. It's like you can't just walk in like that. And if you are, you're gonna need some serious help from other people. It's not something you can just solo and do. It's like you have to spend years learning and basically I think the key thing is just making a shit ton of mistakes. Um like if you just make a bunch of mistakes and obviously you learn from it, then the more you kind of adapt and the more you go forward. I won't go into it too much. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I will say like one of the things I see which really limits people is like an ego. So a lot of people
yeah,
have like this idea that they're the best at what they do and there's nobody that
yeah,
does it. And my way of feeling about this, or my approach when I think about this, is kind of like, well, if you think you're the best at the world and you only started 2 years ago, then you're delusional, and essentially any good advice that you could be given by people that work in the same industry or even, fellow programmers, you're kind of just gonna like ignore the advice because you believe that you're on a trajectory which is far better than the person of which you're, getting advice from, and your ego might block out potential help, you know? So I've always tried to stay humble in what I do. But that's like my story before Tarkov. Would you like me to start talking about my experience with Tarkov?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you were doing things before you progressed to Tarkov, like you were coding and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I didn't. Yeah,
if you
go
want to,
straight
it's
in.
up to you. Like what kind of like background, like what kind
Hmm.
of stuff were you involved in before
So,
Tarkov? You know what would be actually really good? What kind of experiences you had with, you know, what you do as opposed to what you do now with Tarkov? Like say,
uh,
if you were doing what you do now in the past with other games, was it harder? Was it, you know,
um, so if we like, compare, so what I was doing probably about, let's say about 5 years ago, like I'd mainly choose games which didn't have like any anti-cheat.
yeah,
So I could essentially just go full internal and I could essentially just call, functions from the game without any, evasion tactics or anything like this. I wouldn't need to worry about it. I could just do whatever I wanted, and essentially that's what I did. I picked the games which were multiplayer, but then didn't have an anti-cheat. Obviously, there was still some issues that I would find, like there were some things that were protected by like server-sided checks, or certain server-sided things which I just can't control. You know, you got to remember when you're talking about cheating, uh, in most cases, you're only going to be able to manipulate and do stuff inside of the memory, right, of your computer. That's where everything takes place.
yeah,
So it's within there that I'm looking for the game, how it operates, and all this. And essentially, this is also where I'll run um my program, so to say. So like games that I've messed with in the past, I I never sold them, just for the record. I mainly just used it for myself. Um, I never really saw any money. I never was like kind of a profiteer in that until much later.
yeah,
Um, you gotta bear in mind, I was working like by myself. I didn't have anybody else with me, and I didn't really have any motive for money. I still, lived with my parents and had my own pocket money, so it was like, why do I need to try and make money? It wasn't really a problem for me. I had quite a decent childhood when I was older. So I think, yeah, that's kind of like a summary. It was mainly games which didn't have anti-cheat. And then eventually I met the guy I work with now, and he was more kind of experienced, and he held my hand and helped guide me through, essentially, as I, got more involved in the what I'll call the, if I say P2C, that means pay to cheat. It's like the term to summarize the cheat marketplace is the P2C community.
yeah.
Maybe you don't know that, but that's
So
what we call it.
you would say for people, for someone to make a working cheat for a game, it's not so much a solo effort. It's a team effort with a group of people working together.
I mean, you're gonna be insane if you're trying to do this shit by yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's a lot of work. It's not something that's easy. As I said, like as obviously a lot of people have a give Tarkov a bad rap for the cheating situation. But the way I see it, it's like you're looking at like groups of guys who have a decent amount of experience working together. And if they're not working together, there's a high chance that they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing, you know?
yeah, yeah,
So they are dealing with adversity. It's not like it's just it's not like I could have done this when I was 14 years old and
yeah,
just fucking gone internal and done whatever I want.
yeah,
Um, it's a much different picture than that.
yeah.
I'll talk about BATTLEYE a bit later, and I can give a bit
Yeah.
more if people
So
want to hear more detail about what they do.
I, it's up to you. I remember like our very first conversation, and it like something that I've always like. It's just I don't know. I always like people that have the ability to just be honest, even when it's a vulnerable honesty. And I remember me and you, our very first conversation, like literally one of the very first things you said to me was, I'm sorry, um, being social isn't one of my um highest skills because I spend, 18 hours a day at my computer. I barely sleep, and like you know, for me, someone like me, I just like it. Someone who's has the ability to be honest and just call it what it is, and someone who's knowledgeable in a certain field. You sort of have to like. For me, I don't know. It might be different for other people, but for me, it's like, okay, well, that's obviously going to be the downside of someone who's doing that for a living. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like 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 for you on an average day, like spending how much time do you spend a day at your computer for what you do, and what kind of toll does it have on you? Like what's an average day for you? Like what's an average day for you?
You know, actually, it's not too bad. I essentially probably spend, I'd say, around about an average of probably about 6 hours on my computer a day.
Yeah.
It's gone down a lot from what it was before. Because the thing is, you have to remember, it's like when you're starting, so you're starting from the ground up,
Yeah.
that is when the most dedication and time
Yeah.
and like really shitty sleep schedule would be a common practice.
Yeah.
But as obviously you get more established and it just becomes more like maintenance rather than building something, things kind of calm down a little bit, and it's kind of funny because the last time, I think the first time I spoke to you, I think I was just leaving that stage of basically being a full-blown degenerate. Now I'm like a semi-degenerate.
Yeah.
But like back then, um, yeah, I was probably sleeping for about, I think I was operating on about 5 hours sleep.
Yeah.
I was very, very keen to get everything started, and it's not just obviously the another thing is like you've got the development of the project. You've also then got all of our other projects for other games and all of that stuff. And there's also other stuff that we make. I won't disclose what we do outside of this, but
Yeah.
we actually do stuff which is outside of this. Which I mean, if it goes well, we might actually end up stepping away from what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of all up in the air. But what I will say is like, um, yes, when you're on your computer for like a shit ton every day, you lose your social skills. So I do give people the warning sometimes that if I come across as an asshole, I don't mean it. I'm
Yeah.
just genuinely not great with people.
Yeah.
So
Like
I do apologize if I'm an asshole during this
yeah.
interview.
That's
But
like I feel like people like with me. I feel like I've got to like pre-advise people. It's like, okay, I've spent most of my adult life in prison. I say how I feel. I say what I think, and if what I'm saying is offensive, I'm sorry. I just, and when I remember when we first spoke, literally one of the very first things he said to me was, "I'm operating on no sleep. I'm at my computer 18 hours a day. My social skills might not be the best. I'm sorry. I'll apologize in advance, but that's who I am." And it's like, and that's why, I kind of, like, since then, I would sit in calls with you a lot, and I could, like, having conversations wasn't like you know, because I'm kind of the same. It's like I just, and obviously things I say is offensive, and the way I think is obviously offensive sometimes, and the way my mind works. But it's like I was able to sit in calls with you for a long time. We were able to have long discussions about things,
mm,
and I just found it like But so moving on to the next point. Um. Okay, so backstory. Um. You move into Tarkov. You move into Tarkov land, and
mhm.
you're obviously you're working against BATTLEYE and BSG.
Mhm.
And um, what's kind of your backstory with Tarkov and how you came into working on like Tarkov products and
Mhm.
working against BSG and BATTLEYE? What's kind of your backstory with that? How'd you move into that basically?
It's funny because when we first were talking about it, my honest perspective at first glance was I actually liked the concept of the game. I was a big fan of the game Daisy.
Sorry to cut in. Did you
I
play
like
it? Did you play it legit?
I was yes, I played legit for like a long time. Because
Yeah,
you gotta remember the game has an anti-cheat, so I didn't want to lose my account. So I was like, well,
yeah,
I'll play legit, and I had lots of friends that are really good, so it's like I can just play with them and they'll carry me and I'll be fine.
yeah,
Um if there was a situation where someone needed to push a corner and, die and lose their gear, I would be that guy. I'd just do it. I didn't really care too much. I just, it was good for me to hang out with people and stuff like that, especially when I was kind of learning and then also with a bit of work stuff as well on the side. So it's actually really enjoyable. Um, I think when I first saw Tarkov and I was asked about it, and someone had brought it up to me and said, why don't you? It's a game that's becoming seriously popular. I believe this was the time that you had those big streamers like, Summit and stuff like that who were, starting to play the game and getting some serious eyes onto the game. And the concept at first of the game really interested me. It was actually it was really up my street that I was kind of like I didn't want to. Um, and I only got interest when I figured out the situation in terms of the abundance of products that were there for the taking. And I kind
yeah,
of was just like, well, you know, I felt like the ship was kind of already sinking, and I
yeah,
had I had a hard time convincing my friends I was working with to kind of deviate to something else. They were pretty set on what they wanted to do, and we got to work. These guys are kind of at that stage. You got to bear in mind, I'm more like I do it for the enjoyment a little bit, where they're kind of like I want to get paid.
yeah, yeah,
So they they decided that they wanted to essentially um, go for the money, and that was a game that was popular. They didn't have any care for the game or like any kind of curiosity to how it works or any interest. It wasn't any of that. It was all
yeah.
about,
It was strictly
there's
business.
this many players playing. And like I guess I'll elaborate as well on why I think that games like Daisy and Rust and Tarkov have the same problem. Obviously, they all have a wipe system,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, a wipe system kind of, yes, it brings a fresh start for players and it keeps people coming back to the game. However, it creates a level of kind of competitiveness, I guess,
yeah,
where everybody's like battling for the edge.
yeah,
Was there ever an Olympics or whatever when someone wasn't taking steroids or doing something? You know what I mean? There's
yeah,
always been cheaters. Not even with video games, we've been doing it, right? Even just in modern day society. Um, it's very common practice, especially when you think about the dial of the how competitive something is being ramped up to the top. You're gonna see people dish out some low blows, and that would mean downloading third party software and ruining the experience of other players. Um, yeah, kind of with Tarkov, it just kind of took off, I guess, and like I've got lots of friends who work in the same industry and they have different products. I try and be as friendly and cordial with all of the other guys that I work with and speak with. Um, a lot of guys are like internet beefing and stuff like that, and I just think it's really,
yeah,
really stupid. Like, I just wish everybody could just, mind their own business and maybe just be, just not be a dick to each other all the time. If I tell you what, um, maybe people like obviously people that are watching this, I want them to know that there is just as much toxicity inside these communities as there is in the Tarkov community. Um, these guys, if they have the opportunity, they'll eat each other. You know,
yeah.
it's a really treacherous place,
That's
and
something.
like,
sorry to cut off. Like, sorry, that's something I
Go ahead.
noticed going from being a legit player to the cheating scene, and then back to, you know, trying to be legit and doing the right thing and giving people information. What I noticed is there's like the cheating scene is just as toxic as the average player scene and their outlook. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like cheaters and people who all that entire scene, they're all just as willing to tear each other apart as the average player is to tear BSG apart and have this like complete negative, biased, fucking terrible opinion, as opposed to the cheating community. It's like they're exactly the same. It's like they just have this brutal negative opinion
Mhm.
that just tears people apart, as opposed to like when you're in the cheating
Yeah.
scene, it's like, oh, you use this cheat, you're a piece of shit, fuck you, you know, and it's like, isn't it all the same? Isn't it all doing the same thing? Isn't it all exploiting the game? But then you
Yeah.
play legit, and it's like, oh, anyone who cheats is a piece of shit. Anyone that used to cheat is a piece of shit. Anyone that codes cheats is a piece of shit. And it's like, it's like it's all just this same negative, harsh critique instead of people that have half a brain that are willing to sit and listen for half a second and take in the situation,
Mhm.
and
I think
listen.
when people think with emotion, they open up the floodgates for stupidity. So when you get these guys who it's very interesting if you see two people arguing with each other based off what product they use. Like what a pointless argument. I mean, you're not really going
Yeah,
to achieve much.
you're all exploiting the
In
game.
fact,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So it's well, I will say this. At least the legitimate players don't have as much of an issue as the. I see a lot of people like doxing people,
Yeah, yeah,
doing really malicious things, which just
yeah,
are over the top, and even like I watched your video regarding your admission to being involved, with previously using cheats. And it's actually the only reason why I agreed to even speak to you was because you were willing to be honest about it. If you had tried to, hide it or brush it under the carpet, I probably wouldn't have entertained this idea. So I think you get a lot of people that are being dishonest. And as I said, this is all about emotion. People are upset, people are angry, right? They want to get
yeah,
at the cheaters. They don't like them,
yeah,
right? But the thing is like, if I was a legitimate player, I would be perfectly happy with the situation regarding the fact that these guys have ruined their experience of gaming. Because
yeah,
once you start cheating in a game, you got to think about it, right? So let's say you play 2,000 hours in Tarkov legit, right? You don't cheat, no cheats, and you develop your own skills. It's not like you're just developing your own character skills in the game. You're also, your senses. So, that your ability to see, kind of even like I don't know what it is, but it's like so it's a sense of recognition when you're playing and you can see at one slight pixel that doesn't look right, right?
yeah,
In your vision. It's like you develop those skills and your brain kind of develops as long as the longer you play the game and you become more snappier, a lot quicker, and you get that experience. It's why like you've got these streamers who might be assholes, but are very good at the game.
yeah,
They are not all of them, by the way. I don't think all of them are assholes, but there's a good few.
yeah, yeah,
But like I will say like those guys are really good at the game,
yeah,
and it's it's funny to see what we've got now because we've got obviously your channel's built around catching streamers originally that were cheating and hiding it. I really enjoyed that because I think like um honestly think you're helping these people because anybody that starts streaming and has to cheat to get some form of credit um should probably reevaluate what they're doing. You know,
yeah.
if you can't do it the same way and you can't be willing to put in the hours and play, it's
See,
it's really like it's going to be obvious,
yeah.
that
I'm
you're
sorry to cut in.
cheating.
I gotta say this.
Go ahead.
I had to. Oh yeah, I had to, and I remember saying this to you. I had to make it just bluntly obvious to my viewer base that, like, I remember having to say this so many times to my viewer base. I am not a good player. Do not watch me play Tarkov if you think I'm a good player, because I am not. I'm a below average player. I'm not good at the game. I'm shit. I'm just an average dude playing the game. I'm not a good player. Like, that's like, and I'll go on a bit of a rant here. I'm sorry. So when I first started cheating, it was basically like it was a DayZ thing. I played DayZ for, like, I dedicated easily 3 years of my life to DayZ before I started cheating. And if anyone knows the DayZ progression scale and what's happened to DayZ and the story of DayZ, to play DayZ legit in any server, whether it's community or official, you're getting cheated on, like, relentlessly. Like, you are getting fucking crushed by someone who knows where you are, who knows where you're about to peak, who knows, and that's just, and something that, like, really annoyed me was I put in the years to be a good player. I put in the years to understand, when to take a fight, when to run away. I put in the years to be someone who was experienced at DayZ, just for it to be like, oh, flip a coin, are you being cheated on or not? And it's like, and that basically progressed me to making the shitty choice of downloading programs and and I'm also did it to troll people. Like, for me, like, cheating for me isn't so much like I'm going to pretend to be a good player. It's more so like I'm going to troll you. Like, like, I'm just going to fuck with you. Like, like, I just, like, so the crazy thing, like, you play a game legit for 3-4 years, and then, you understand the grind. You understand anyone who's got more than 500 hours in a game. You understand, and like, it was more so for me just trolling people. Like, I just like, some people, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, if I had people that would break down and cry and lose their mind and be like, you're fucking cheating, you fucking piece of shit, then I would, like, for me, just the kind of person I am, it's probably a bad character trait, but I'm going to fuck with that person. You're getting online, you're getting online to an online game, and you're carrying yourself emotionally, and you're losing your mind because someone's using a program to beat you. And it wasn't so much like I'm better than you for a thing for me. It was more so like you're going to get online and carry yourself this way, because it happened to me for years. Like, I got outplayed for years. I got shat on for years by people that were walling and people that were doing the wrong thing. And it just got to a point for me where I was like, I'll be honest, it probably could have took me a year to be like, okay, I'm an experienced player in DayZ. I know how to play DayZ. That person's not a legit player. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, am I going to be like, what am I going to do? Am I going to cry about it? Am I going to, yeah, okay, you're using a $2 program. You bought a day key. You're better than me. You can see where I am. It's like, for me, I just found it funny to fuck with people. Like, and that's when I progressed to fucking with streamers, and because I found, like, when you'd see those people's reactions, because you can actually see their reactions as opposed to a normal player. Like, you can see if someone's streaming, like, for example, if someone's streaming, you can actually see their reaction and how mad and upset they're getting. And you know that person has thousands of hours in the game.
They know there's cheaters in the game. They know there's programs that assist people in the game. But yet still, they lose their fucking mind and pull their hair out. And that's what, when I started cheating, it's like, okay, I don't feel great cheating against the average player, the average dude who has probably, 10 hours a week to play the game. Like, I don't feel so great just shitting on that guy. I want to watch someone who plays the game 12 hours a day pull their hair out and cry because and that's what made me want to start cheating. And it was more so of like a troll. I just wanted to troll. Like, I've always been a troll. Like, I just wanted to just watch people lose their minds and get a reaction out of people. And then I progressed to Tarkov, and then I started doing it to Tarkov streamers. And something I noticed with Tarkov streamers as opposed to other games, like with DayZ, if you fly around a DayZ streamer and you fuck with them with cheats, and then they're not affected. They know the drill. Anyone who has more than 1,000 hours in DayZ knows the game's full of cheaters. They don't react. They're just like, oh, yeah, okay, another cheater. But then you move to Tarkov, and they lose their mind. Like, they just lose it. They just fucking lose it. And like, when you see someone do that on stream, like, lose their mind, and like, I've had dudes like literally like punch their camera. I've had dudes just fucking throw their chair. Like, people just lose their minds, even though they know it's happening. They react, and that's what made me do it in Tarkov, and that's what made me, because it's like something that I don't understand is, like, what's happening, what's in the game, it's something that's happening every day, but yet still you're going to react that way when it's happening to you. And I don't know, like, I found it funny. Like, I've got, still to this day, if I'm being honest, I've still got, I think it's like 120 gig of footage of me trolling people who stream in this game, and them just losing their minds because someone is fucking with them with a program in a game that they know is being exploited. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it,
You see, the thing is what I've noticed about the whole kind of idea on this and the way that people react to cheating and being trolled. Obviously, when you're a streamer, you open up the door to that, right? That's the risk you
Yeah.
take by broadcasting your footage live, right?
yeah.
The same way same way if a news reporter goes to a town to do a video, there'll be that guy that jumps in and says something stupid,
Yeah.
or some guy that just looks at him weird the whole interview, right? There's gonna be stuff like that happens, and obviously, like, being stream sniped just alone is probably annoying for them, but then also being stream sniped by somebody that's actually cheating as well, it's a double whammy, and I think it would really, really piss people off. I understand why you get those reactions.
Yeah.
My honest thoughts is, like, I've seen this happen a lot as well. Like, a lot of my friends didn't know. Like, I've got friends who are like developers, and I've also got friends that just play and enjoy the game who have like normal 9 to 5s, right?
Yeah.
I've watched these guys get so worked up about being killed by a guy they think was cheating.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, what I want to tell them is just get up and go get some fresh air. Like, I see these guys get so angry and they stick on their gear, in a terrible state of mind, and go back in and play and play and play and play. It's not good. I will give a little bit of background. I play golf, right?
Yeah.
And when I
love
first
golf.
started, I was shit. I
Yeah.
was so bad.
Yeah.
And I used to lose my head all the time.
Yeah.
So if I scuffed like one shot, it would ruin the next 32 holes, right?
Yeah.
So it just shows, like, sometimes, obviously, I can't walk away from the golf because I'm there and I'm with my friends, and it's kind of like, it's good fitness. It's like, it's essentially what I do for walking. That's how I stay healthy.
Yeah.
By doing stuff like that, where you're not using golf carts, you're walking like a good amount of distance, 4 times a week. So I do enjoy that, but early days, I really, really hated it. I think I broke like probably, I'm gonna say about 7 clubs. Um, yeah, I got really fucking angry
Yeah.
on that, and then it's like you got to think. Obviously, when you're gaming, you're indulging in like a hobby, right?
Yeah.
And people don't think you're paying for it, right? You've bought the game, but you're paying with your time, right?
Yeah.
And I would argue that my time is more valuable than money to a certain extent, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Because I can't go back and change
That's what-
something.
That's what
you
made
know?
me start cheating. It's like I felt robbed. I just felt robbed of all the time I put in just to get robbed by someone who was using a program. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can see why people feel that way. It's like, um, it's really a sense of time. So the way that games have to be, there has to be a system or like a kind of like progression where somebody that can only commit a certain amount of time can still do well, right? Otherwise, you create this absolute, massacre of absolute sweaty degenerates who haven't washed their bollocks for about 4 weeks straight, and they just want to sit on their game and just play all day. I sound like a parent when I say game. When they want to sit on Tarkov and play all day long. Like, my perspective on gaming now, and this is something I'm gonna say, especially if anyone's here who's, thinking about cheating and thinking that it sucks to be a legit player. I can never play video games the same as I did before after using cheats myself. Um, it's just not fun anymore, and it feels like all the progression that you've built up with your skills, your awareness, all of this stuff, it's just all gone. I can't pick up a single game now that I could play for more than probably 15 minutes. I have more hours on chess.com than I do Tarkov this wipe. I don't have any interest for the game. Also, another thing I'll mention, I got hardware banned on Tarkov. So it's like I have to do so much to be able to play the game and do it all again. It's just not worth it. And if you think about it from a perspective of I'm doing this to, help with my own project and stuff like that, it's not a choice. I have to do it. If you have the choice to play the game and you're playing legit right now and, you're thinking about cheating, think about it. If you get banned, there's a chance you could be hardware banned. That means for the rest of your life, if you want to play the game, obviously until you get a new PC, you can shake off the hardware ban, but you'll need to use a spoofer. You need to write a cheat because the likelihood is cheats are kind of like drugs. You're not going to get off them. Especially with a game like Tarkov, it's going to be really difficult. I give credit to anybody that can, go legit after using these sorts of things. And yeah, it's a really, really big problem. And like I saw, plenty of videos of like, sus clips from streamers and stuff like that. And it really makes you kind of sit back and, be a little bit shocked on like how bad is this real situation in terms of how widespread is it. And I mean, I hate to be an asshole, but for the people that play Tarkov, I mean, like, just take a break. If it's not doing it for you, then take a break. It's nothing you can do about it. And I see a lot of posts on Reddit like, yeah, they'll read them, but it's not going to change much.
Yeah.
But I think the last thing I'll say about that is like, I find very few people that try and take a logical standpoint in terms of the positives and the negatives about the state of the game and the way that BSG are performing. There's a lot of things that are completely out of their control, which I think they're getting the blame for, like they're getting the bad rep for.
Yeah.
And those are things that they can't really change. I saw there was an interview that NAKITA did with
Well, we
Wesley.
can play that. We can play that. We'll just here. I'll just give me a sec. All right. We're back on the record. You ready?
Go for it.
All right. So we'll start the video from when he brings up the cheating issue with NAKITA. I think like what I thought would be a good idea is when NAKITA replies and says what's going on with the game, you know, as someone who, you know, obviously you're someone who, you know, reacts daily against him. I personally find it really interesting to ask your take when he gives his replies on his current battle with people that are doing the wrong thing. Like I think it would be very interesting for someone like you to give your take as well, and whether he's being honest or whether he's being deceiving or whether he's telling the truth, or you know,
Sure.
because
I'll reply to everything he says.
Yeah.
That's fine if you want. When
So-
he concludes, I'll give my piece. That's
Just-
fine.
something like as well for me, like when I had my channel, as you know, someone who used to do the wrong thing, I found that just the player base is just so misinformed and so like they assume the worst, and it's like when you have conversations with people that are doing the wrong thing, as opposed to NAKITA's take on something, it's like, you know. But anyway, so this is Pestilly talking to NAKITA and asking about cheating, and whenever you want me to pause it, just let me know, or I might pause it and ask you a question, but we'll start the video, okay?
Go ahead.
Topic that everyone screams, and you know what's going to be. We need to talk about cheaters. There's a few things that were very common with the people's comments and questions. So I'll start at the top, and we'll just go from there. So a lot of questions about client-side authentication and server-side authentication, and apparently, and by the way, I have no fucking clue about how cheats work, but apparently, because a lot of the actual loot is client-side, people can make cheats that can get loot really easily, or know where the places are of loot really easily.
It's not that easy. We don't have a loot on the client side, everything on the server side, but we have like a lot of checks on the client to optimize the networking and stuff, and they finding and like imperfections in code, and also some like how to say it, abuses of the native code of Unity and everything. So it's not that easy. It's not like we have like half of the game on the client side. It's also like every single time when we close something for the cheaters, they find another way, and we close it and they find another way, and it's ongoing process, and eventually it will be too hard for them, because we are planning to add more stuff for the cheater, for anti-cheats. Like we have our inside solution that's already working.
Okay, I'll pause it there before he goes too far. So, you know, Pestilly's obviously saying everything's client side and cheaters can abuse that, and then his reply was, no, there's actually checks for that, and no, it's, you know, it's not actually that easy to combat people doing that. What's your... This is where you're going to shine. This is why, I really want to have this conversation with you, because this is where I feel like when I have these conversations with you, it's like I sit there and listen, and I'm just like, and then I hear your side, and it's like, okay, it's you know, so with the client side stuff, and him saying it's not that easy, and there's actually checks, and you know. Do you think he's deflecting? Do you think he's lying? Do you think he's scamming people? Or, like, what's actually going on there?
My first take was he said he was making it better for cheaters, which I think that was a slip up, but that's
He doesn't understand English
yeah,
very
so-
well. Yeah, English isn't his first
Yeah,
language.
He's Russian, bless him. So
Yeah.
kudos to him for speaking two languages. I'll say I like what he said the second bit regarding Unity. When you know, essentially use like kind of a game engine, and you have that host your games, essentially you're using that game engine to build on. There are going to be vulnerabilities of which obviously you didn't intend, and
Yeah.
it could be a flaw in the engine itself, or it could be a flaw with the game. To be honest, like I can open up. There's a program I have which is called DNSpy, and the game is written in C#. I can open that up and I can literally completely read the game, how it works, interpret everything. In terms of, I could take, extracts, for example, even, loot, damage, bullet velocity, all of that stuff, all of that information's there. The question is, what can you manipulate?
Yeah.
And this is like the defense mechanisms are these sort of server-sided checks. So there's, I think maybe a few people have heard of this. There was something called Cerberus that Rust used a while ago, and you had a lot of scripters in Rust. For the record, if you don't know what a script is, essentially Rust had a preset recoil pattern which had no randomization. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I
it was
remember. Yeah.
literally if you had a script for it, you could literally put your bullets on a dot.
Yeah.
And they had to deal with it. And the problem was like they weren't as you can't detect them like cheats. It's not like detecting a cheat. It's really difficult. But what
Yeah.
they did was they added something called Cerberus, which basically tracked someone's shot. So if you hit like a triple headshot or you did something which wasn't really humanly possible,
Yeah.
you'd get flagged. And
Yeah.
I think for some servers they could have it so essentially it would flag you, so admins would further investigate you, or like
Yeah.
some people just get instantly banned.
Yeah.
It's and like you saw it like they have that. By the way, this isn't the perfect solution to this problem. Like you had false bans.
Yeah.
There were streamers that were getting banned.
Yeah.
So it's like
Just
you
like,
really have to be careful in terms of. Sorry, I'll just finish the sentence. You have to be really careful about how far you're willing to turn it up, right? Because you could potentially ruin the experience for legitimate players,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I've
Um,
seen that with Rust. I've seen that with Rust where,
Mhm.
say, someone who had 5,000 plus hours experience and their PC would get destroyed. And if they would if they would use a new account, and I've seen this so many times, and I've seen it with Tarkov as well. Not as much as Rust, but with Rust, if you get someone that's got more than 5k hours experience, and they jump on a brand new account with 0 hours, and they play the way they play with 5,000 hours experience on a 0 hour account, they will be banned within 100 hours of gameplay, because their brain can compute how recoil works. They can hit shots. They can, they can carry themselves in a certain way in game where the anti-cheat will instantly say, "You're not a new player. You're acting inhumanely and you're banned." And I've seen that so many times on YouTube. Like if you type in Rust false ban on YouTube and you look it up, the amount of people that have, started a brand new account, and you could just see that they have recoil. But there's someone who knows how to control it. There's someone who knows how to play. There's someone who knows how to react in a gunfight and move, and they get falsely banned because they have 5 to 10k hours experience in the game, but the anti-cheat is saying, "No, you're not a 0 hour player. You're banned." And it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's like there's a lot of false bans. And in my recent video that I did about bans in Tarkov, it's like people do stop playing Tarkov for a year and then come back and buy a new account, and then get falsely banned. A lot of people have been falsely banned because they have experience in the game, and I feel like Tarkov knows that because they don't hardware ban off the rip. Unless you get detected using a cheat, they don't hardware ban. And people hold them accountable for that and say, "Oh, they want cheaters in their game." But it's like, how can you hardware ban someone that you can't prove is using a program? Because that person could just be someone who has 5,000 hours in the game and then stop playing for a year, or their computer broke, or, they went to Xbox or PlayStation for a year and then bought a new computer and come back and they're on a brand new account and they're playing like an 8,000 hour player and then they get banned. It's like, it does happen, They can't just instantly hardware ban someone off the rip. And that's what they do. And I tried to, on my channel, I try to explain to people that you can't just insta hardware ban someone because they've been banned. Like, it's not really fair. Like, it's not you know, as opposed to someone who got caught using a cheat, obviously, yes, hardware banned that person off the rip, which they most likely do, and that's what they do in most cases, like 99% of the time, obviously. But like, I try to explain that because there is circumstances where that happens, you know. Yeah.
Well, what I'll say, obviously I think there'll be a lot of people in the comments talking about this, but essentially you gotta think of like a slider, and it's the choice of the game developers and how high they want to turn that in terms of how they deal with people that, are rule breakers, right? So essentially, they also have to remember, like, of course, you're going to get backlash from the legitimate players as well if there are things like false bans. And I'm not really in touch with the legitimate Tarkov community. I think it's god awful. I try and stay away from it as much as I can. I think the P2C community is enough for me.
It's just as toxic
so
as the. I'll give you advice.
Yeah.
It's just as toxic as the legit player base. Just as toxic.
So yeah, I try and like keep a 10-foot barge pole from the legitimate side and kind of just avoid as much interaction or stuff like that. That's why I haven't really agreed to do any interviews in the past and stuff like that, because I just I didn't really see the point or didn't want to get involved. I think in terms of when we talk about that kind of how much they want to squeeze the players and really try and get the community legit, like NAKITA said, and I agree with him. It's like you've got to deal with changing things, and then people will find a new exploit, a new way around it. They're going to get what they want, right? The question is, can they, keep shutting them out and eventually close all the doors? And in my opinion, I'm going to be honest and say, I don't think they can. And I don't think they will. So, unfortunately, if anyone's here who's got their hopes up about the future of, of Tarkov or just gaming in general in terms of dealing with cheaters, I think this problem will still continue. And what you might see is, yes, they might, crack down on some of the really infamous exploits such as teleporting loot and stuff like that. But you're still going to have a bunch of guys who are using ESP, who are stealing your loot, who are ruining the game in a way of which you don't think it's as bad, but trust me, it's really bad. And it shouldn't be a thing. I'll make one more point regarding this. I don't want this video to drag out for hours, so I'll say this. I really enjoy a game that I enjoy playing, War Thunder. Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't cheat in War Thunder. But I think War Thunder's done a really good job with dealing with cheaters, and I think it's great. Maybe that's a hot take. Some people might disagree, but I see tons. If you go on YouTube, look up War Thunder cheater.
Yeah, it's
there
gotten
are
bad.
hundreds, if not thousands, of videos of guys who are exposing people because they have an instant replay system.
Yeah.
So you can go back 10
I think
games,
NAKITA gets to that
and
soon in the interview. He gets to the replay system and stuff
well,
like that.
let's elaborate on that then, and you can continue, and I won't drag it out.
So
Go ahead.
basically, his point was they said that the entire game is client side, all the loot is client side and all that. And he said no, it's actually not. It's actually checks, but it's not that easy to. Do you agree with him, or?
I strongly disagree with the first part.
So all the loot and where the players are is all client side.
It's relatively easy to get.
Yeah.
It's not like it's hard.
Is
So
there
that's
checks?
not-
Is there checks? Like if you're grabbing loot where you're not supposed to be, if you're doing things you're not supposed to be, is there checks for it?
It depends. Is he talking about? I'm gonna. From what I heard, I think he's talking about the idea that you can actually render them on essentially an overlay or well, you could just render them and see them. I don't think he's going into detail in terms of can you loot it through a wall.
Yeah.
They actually added a check for that. They they have a new check. So essentially, if you try and grab an item through a wall, you can't grab a loose item, but you can grab
Yeah.
items that are within a
Yeah.
container. So
Yeah.
they did kind of semi-fix it. But I'm pretty sure there's already people who are exploring avenues of how to get around this. I'm not really bothered. I let those guys kind of do their thing. But I would strongly disagree with the first point. But I will agree with what he said on the second one, which is regarding Unity. I do think that's true. There are some vulnerabilities in Unity.
Yeah.
But he probably is he going to mention that as well later on?
I think he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Okay, so I can elaborate on Unity a bit more later. You
Yeah.
can go ahead and play.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we'll play the video.
Like for a long time, the detection system and also the anti-cheat system, where they're working together. So we'll add some more stuff to that pretty soon. I think we'll be testing it on Arena at first, and then we'll add it to EFT. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. People don't understand how it works. People don't understand how exactly code works and how actually cheat works. So yeah, it's not that easy.
Are you open to more invasive anti-cheat?
As he said there, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. People don't understand how coding works. And do you agree with that, or?
Is it? Well, here's the thing. It's easy to make a cheat. It's hard to be undetected.
Yeah.
That's what I will say regarding that. It's very easy to, I mean, anyone can go on, update a few offsets and, use like a
Obviously
cheat that's been
redacted.
pasted.
I've got to redact that, but obviously redacted. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. There's plenty of like open source information which you can be easily accessed, and people can go and look at it. I mean, if you don't know how to code, then there's not much you can really do with it. Like, you don't have any of the tools to actually make it work. But the idea that this is a really hard task to complete in terms of just making it is not accurate. The idea of keeping it safe and not getting banned, that is the tricky part, So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go.
We're thinking about it, and literally the only thing that
Okay.
it's not
So
that easy.
more invasive anti-cheat. Here we go. So this is especially asking about the more invasive anti-cheat.
Are you open to more invasive anti-cheat?
We're thinking about it, and literally the only thing that bothers me a lot, it will draw a lot of FPS, and people will start struggling playing on other locations. And of course, somebody will say like, "Oh, it's okay, better play without the cheaters," but I cannot ruin player base with that pretty far.
Okay. So he's basically saying that for him to implement a more invasive anti-cheat, it would draw FPS from the game. Is that truth, or?
Depending, obviously, when he means invasive anti-cheat, I wish he would go into more detail on what he's referring to
Yeah,
there. So I
they're
guess I'll
very
just have to
vague.
play,
Hey, I've noticed that they're
play,
very
play
vague.
some assumptions. It's not like they're scared of giving out information to people like me. I mean, it's pretty open source. We can figure out what's going on. It doesn't take us too long. But I'll respond to that and say that this is what I was referring to earlier when I meant about the kind of how hard you press the cheaters. Are you willing to deteriorate the performance of your game to deal with cheaters, right? Or are you going to look at the game itself and why is it good to be a cheater in Tarkov, right? And to study how cheaters behave, right? I think there's things that they could do right now which have nothing to do with more invasive anti-cheat. They could get like the majority of people banned. I'm not going to do that job for them though,
Yeah.
because they don't do mine for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll just say like, I mean, Unity helps a lot, but he's not Unity. So I'll just say that I think it's probably best that he doesn't. I think that the obviously anyone here knows that the performance of the game isn't impeccable. Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's probably one of the worst I've dealt
Yeah.
with.
I think his point is he doesn't want to make it worse, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's. Could you imagine the game? Without
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
without
yeah.
the performance is like, it's still very questionable, and obviously he's got to release the game soon, so there's probably a lot of pressure on him with this question. But I'm going to assume that he most likely won't make those changes because it would be more damaging to the game itself than it would
Yeah.
be to the cheaters.
Yeah.
They'd find a way around it.
All right. We'll continue.
Decision just to install invasive anti-cheat, but still there is some kind of not like invasive techniques, but some technical stuff that can be done, can be switched on, and it will allow, like it will not allow cheats to run actually, and we will see how it will go.
Yeah.
But like the invasive anti-cheat, like it's like.
What do you think he means by that when he says there's stuff that we can turn on that will? What do you think he means by that? Do you want me to replay it or?
No, I heard it
Yeah.
Thursday. He's had a special button on his desk for a long time, which he just decided that he's not going to press. You know, for how many years has this game been released? Since what,
7,
2016?
8. Yeah, 7, 8.
So you're telling me for the past? I'll be fair with him. Let's say for the past few years, he's had this special button he can push that will somehow render cheats useless. Yeah, cool story. Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. I think there's things they can do, like they can shuffle things and move offsets around, and that will make it really difficult for people to keep having to update it, and it becomes a real task. But I don't think there's a magic button you can press that makes your problems go away. Sounds like a bit of a fairy tale.
Yeah. So something I noticed when I'm watching him, talk on cheating, and he seems very frustrated and annoyed and uncomfortable. It's like whenever someone talks about him with cheating in his game, he seems very frustrated, drained, annoyed. It's like something I tried to explain to people, when I had a community and people were asking me about cheating, and people just seem to think it's just something that someone can click their fingers and just solve. Do you feel like that's the case?
Well, well, let me ask you: if it was just a question of clicking your fingers, do you think the cheating would be such an issue now?
Yeah.
Do you think that these guys have just allowed this to continue?
No.
If you think about it logically, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish he was correct. As I said, like one of the first things I said when we first started talking this interview, I said that I really like the idea of Tarkov. The concept of it is really cool. It did actually pique my interest, not to make a cheat for it, to actually play it.
Yeah.
It sounded really cool, and kudos for him for what he's made. I mean, like, although he
Yeah.
has these problems, I still have a lot of respect for him for creating this.
Yeah.
It's been
And that's
it's been incredible.
I've noticed. I've said that to so many people. As someone who's done the wrong thing in this game, like as someone who's shat on this game and completely disrespected it, you look at this game and I loved DayZ. Like the concept of DayZ, like complete open world environment, end of the world, do whatever the fuck you want, rob people, eat people, kill people, be nice. The concept and their vision for the game, I fucking love it. Like I love it. Like I respect it. But at the same time, the harsher you make a game and the more brutal you make a game, the more you're going to get people who are going to lean towards doing the wrong thing. Just like with DayZ.
You're gonna drive people to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
because
exactly what I've been saying about this game.
It's not
That's how I feel
easy.
about it.
It's not easy. It's not a game that you just pick up and go, I'm a Chad. I'm going to fucking just completely roll everyone in my way and steamroll everyone and be a Chad. It's not one of those games. It's a game where you spend a year getting shat on to learn how things work, to learn, just like with me with DayZ, like for you to learn and progress in the game, you have to get shat on many, many times by people doing the wrong thing and the right thing to learn the game. And then on top of that, even when you do learn the game, it's like, was that guy doing the right thing or the wrong thing? It's like and it eats away at you. It eats away at you because you're like, do I need to be better, or or is that guy using a program to be better than me? Like, do I need to be better? Do I need to learn from this, or do I not need to learn to be better from this? Like, what do I take away from this? That guy killed me. He instantly pre-fired me. Do I need to be better? Do I need to know that I should have moved? Do I need to know that I shouldn't have healed at this time? Or did that guy have walls? It's like you just in a constant, like, never-ending battle of, am I not good enough, or did that person have more knowledge than me? It's like you don't know, and it just eats away at you, because as a gamer, as someone who wants to be good at the game you're playing, it fucking eats away at you, and it pisses you off not knowing 50% of the time whether someone is actually just better than you and you need to learn from that and be better, or whether that person was doing the wrong thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think like regards like to this is the problem with competitive gaming. You end up going down the rabbit hole of blame, you know? You either blame yourself, you know, your own capabilities and your understanding of the game. You maybe blame the game itself. Maybe you couldn't hear audio, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
maybe you blame the anti-cheat because you believe the guy's cheating. But when you go down that rabbit hole, it's just a blame game. And eventually, like, what it turns into is I see people will then more frequently go to their default, which is to, you know, keep blaming one
Yeah.
of those things.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think many people can do it. Maybe I can do it because I'm a weirdo, but if I die in a game, I don't really give a shit. Like, I don't wonder if the guy was cheating. I don't wonder what the guy had for breakfast. I don't frankly give a shit, you know? Like, I'll just, you know, start again, play, it's whatever. But I can understand. And the reason why I do that, by the way, is because I was that person. I was a guy that wanted to be good at the game, right?
Yeah.
So it's a huge mental thing, and I'm not
Yeah.
a psychologist, so I can't, you know, give like a
Yeah.
full description of how that works.
Something
but-
I'll say before I cut. Like I know I'm going to cut you off,
Mhm.
but it's like the very first time you cheat in a game, the most mind-blowing thing to me is like when you play a game legit for, let's say, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hours, and then you use a cheat. Just the thing that fucking blows your mind, the second you turn that cheat on and use that cheat, is when you look around and you see the people around you and you actually realize how many people is cheating. Like how you, like for me, when it's like, okay, I'm gonna kill this streamer. I know he's in my lobby. I'm looking across the map. I can see his name. There he is. Great. But then you look around the map and you see the person to the left and right of you staring at you through fucking brick walls and tracking you and running straight to valuable loot. And it's like, holy, like, everyone's cheating.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of people are cheating and doing the wrong thing. And it's like, anyone who's watching this who's done the wrong thing, who, like, the most mind-blowing thing is when you first, it's like, you know what it reminds me of? I don't want to get too far off subject, but what's that movie? I think it's like a Ben Affleck movie where he's blind and he becomes like a superhero and he fights evil. But he's like blind and something happens and he's like a bat. He can hear everything in like echolocation. But it's like the very first time he hears an echolocation and he realizes how many evil people there are in the universe, and he can hear and see everything. And it's kind of like that. It's like the first time you use cheats and you look around a Tarkov lobby and you look around and you actually realize what's actually happening in the average lobby in Tarkov, and you're just like, wow. Like, for me, I remember just like in DayZ, like I remember the first time I did it in Tarkov after probably 1,000, 2,000 hours, and I looked around a lobby and I was like, wow, like the amount of people that are cheating and doing the wrong thing is just insane. Like, you know, and then it's like to try and be legit after that, after you see that. And that's why like a lot of people roast me about my opinion on GOAT. You know, a lot of people roast me on that. It's like someone who uses cheats to, you know, and they're a hero. But the reason, like, for me, what ruined gaming for me was the very first second. And Goat says this in his video, which I applaud him for saying this. He literally says, if you're someone who, you know, gaming is your place to go to, you know, that's your, you know, ulterior universe you go to have a good time, and that's your place you go to, and, you know, you don't want to ruin that, don't watch this video. Because the reality is, the first time you cheat and you look around a lobby in any game like DayZ or Tarkov, and you do it and you realize just how many people are doing it, it fucking hurts. Like you're like holy shit, like everyone, like a lot of people are cheating. Not everyone, I won't say everyone, but a lot of people are doing the wrong thing. Like a lot of people are, and just for me to kill a streamer, like I can't, the amount of times I've had to like fucking, like, you know, when I was using a certain cheat, you know the one I'm talking about, where you know, you can lean around walls without exposing yourself, and the amount of times I've had to do that, like lean around a wall without exposing myself and kill a cheater, just to get to the streamer, because, you know, you got some guy in front of you that's just raging, that's going to kill you, because he just wants to get to the GPU that he thinks you're trying to get to, but you're just trying to get to the streamer to kill the streamer and watch him cry on stream. And it's like, holy fucking shit, like, the amount of people that are doing the wrong thing in this game, and then in your mind, you're just like, you like, and then for me to go back to doing the right thing in the game, it's like, you know you're in a lobby full of, you know, 25% of people are doing the wrong thing, you know, and it's just, it's so brutal, like, you know. But yeah,
I
I don't know if
guess,
you-
like,
yeah.
go on, go ask.
I don't know if you can elaborate on that. I don't know if you remember the first time you used walls, or the first time you cheated in a game that you actually respected and played for a long time, and then you actually see what's going on, and like, you know, like did that ever happen to you, and like throughout your progression? And
Yeah, I felt extremely like powerful on day one. I felt like this was amazing. You know, that I was thinking about all the stuff I could get done and how quickly I could do it. But the problem, obviously, what I didn't think about, obviously, you think about in the moment, you're like, oh, this is really cool, this is great. But when you think about it, like, the game is no longer interesting. Remember why
Yeah.
games are good,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's a level of excitement, right? You're doing something insane. You're loading into a map, and you know, killing your, you know, fellow PMCs, and you're fighting potentially bosses, right?
yeah,
It's makes some really intense moments. It's like, what happens when you load into every raid, but you know where everything's going to be, and this is the curse, right?
yeah.
People
It's a
don't really
blessing, but it's a
look at kind
curse.
of-
It's like it.
Yes, because eventually it's going to sap the excitement out of the game, and
Yeah.
you're kind of beating a dead horse, because it's just like, well, I've done this before. I know where that GPU is. I know this. I know that.
Yeah.
It's like, I know where all the players are spawned. I know that I'm safe on my left. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any of those wholesome moments where you do pull off a situation. Maybe a guy sees you first, right, and you're playing legit, and he tries to shoot, but you manage to get a crazy shot on him, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Feels great.
yeah.
You genuinely did well. Like, you played well. But when you're cheating, there's never that idea that, oh, I did really good there, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, you essentially, everything that you do in a game and that you achieve, essentially the credit, you may not think it does, but it just goes to the cheat. You're not giving yourself any credit.
Yeah.
And the game doesn't become enjoyable, and as I said, the worst thing is if you wanted to stop and get back into the game, you would lose like a lot of the skills you'd built up in the past. So essentially you'd be like, say you had 2,000 hours, you cheated for a week, take off another like 500 hours off your experience, You know, like you're going backwards.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get better at the game after cheating.
Yeah.
That's
That's something I
just a
noticed with
fact.
me. It's like I played for 2,000 hours and I learnt the game, and then I cheated for like 1,000 hours, killing streamers and looting valuable items and fighting cheaters and avoiding cheaters and then going back to the game legit. It's like you just have this so like bland, monotonous outlook on the game that you didn't used to have. And I noticed I had that when I would stream the game, play the game with people legit. Is like I would play with people in my community that were legit, and they'd be so excited and pumped. But for me, I was just like, okay, we're going into a lobby that's going to have at least 1 to 3 cheaters, at least, and but there's a good chance we get cheated on. If it happens, it happens. But then you get excited when you do something great, but at the same time, it's like when you die, it's like, okay, that guy was most, but it's like you don't know. You don't know whether you were just shit and you did something wrong, and that's what ate away at me the most after doing the wrong thing. It's like, after you see the light, after you see reality, and and you see what's really going on, it's like it just eats away at you, and you don't know whether you're just really, really bad or whether you're just bad. And, that's what like a fucking just ate away at me and annoyed me the most about playing legit in this game.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna hold my thought. I'll let you continue playing the video. I was gonna say something, but I'll let you play.
Yeah. We're probably going on too much.
Like it's not like it's a no-go for us, but right now, due to our architecture, due to Unity and overall complexity of the game, it will ruin the performance a lot.
Yeah, I need to just emphasize because.
So, do you agree, disagree? If they added a more invasive anti-cheat, it would ruin the game's FPS and its performance?
The game's current state is unstable, so if they try and add things such as this, then it's highly likely that it would have a negative impact of what he's describing.
Yeah, the game's already unstable. The game's already,
Yeah, the game's already struggling for performance. I mean, implementing things that would do the opposite of enhancing it would not go down well with the player base.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that most of these checks probably aren't anything that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
So, it's it would be more detrimental to the game than it would be a positive.
Yeah, and something that I try to explain to players was, even if they did do this, let's say they did do this, let's say that one day they just said, okay, we've added an anti-evasive, anti-cheat, how long would it be before someone got around that? And then the game's running like shit, you got 2 FPS, but then people are still cheating.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, like, I'll just say this. This is a quick answer to that question. There's games that have been in, like alpha release, and they've had cheats made for them before they release. So, and sometimes they're made on their own engines. Like even games that are made on Bohemia engine, which is their own engine, right?
Yep.
Bohemia is obviously the developers for DayZ and the Armor series.
Yeah.
There were cheats for those games before they even released.
Yeah.
So the community and the people within the PTC are very quick to get around these obstacles. So definitely not worth it in my eyes.
Yeah.
You can
All right.
continue.
And I'm just going to stray away from the questions for a moment. If there's one thing that makes people quit this game more than anything, is when they feel like they've died to cheaters. If I were to say there was one thing they'll go, I'm not playing this game anymore, is if they've had multiple instances in a day where they've just gone, you know what, I think these guys were cheating. Fuck this game, I'm out. And as much as like it might take an FPS hit, I guess with every.
Okay, personal question. As someone who, I've got to ask you this, obviously, and as someone who's played, I know you played this game legit, and I know you are someone who does the wrong thing to help people play this game unlegit. Like, what's your take on this? Do you do you respect the game? Do you not respect it? What's your general outlook on the game?
I respect all video games. I mean, like, he's put his own name to the brand, and he's, gone public with it, and he's become one of the most influential guys in the current gaming sphere. So I think that they do have my respect. I don't dislike any of them, to be honest. I will say that regarding like the players saying that they died to a cheater, like I guarantee you that most of the manual reports that get put through on the game, probably about only 20% of them are actually genuine cheaters. You got to bear in mind we've just seen a significant recall update, which is like a big thing,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a lot easier now to hit your shots. It's not like the health has gone up, right? For the players. Yes, ammos are more like certain type of ammunition is rare and you can't buy it anymore, but still it's like with the recoil being reduced that much, I feel like giving the players the ability to report people isn't really going to help them. I'm not saying take it away by any means, but I'm saying that they'll take the reports with a pinch of salt when implementing serious recall changes like they did recently.
Obviously.
So that's a big factor. So because like think about it, if you played the game for the previous was it this wipe or the one before they implemented the recall change? I can't remember.
It was this wipe.
It was this wipe. Okay, so if you played the last 4 wipes and you got shot at by multiple people, full auto at 50 to 100 meters, right?
Yeah.
You would feel how many shots hit if you were beamed by someone who wasn't playing legitimate, as in they had no recoil, or somebody who was genuinely playing, and you could hear the rounds whistling, and yes, they were landing shots, but they weren't, painting one big hole in your chest.
Yeah.
They were genuinely, scattered rounds.
Yeah.
So you got to think we've gone from that now to the recall being very moderate compared to what it was before. A big change,
Yeah.
right? Where now it's a lot easier to chain up your shots.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of false bans. So it's probably an absolute ball ache for BSG to filter through manual reports and go through them. So
And
they do have my sympathies for that. So
I remember killing like there's 2 or 3 Australian Tarkov emissaries, and the amount of shit those guys talked on me, and the amount of times I killed them, and what used to just blow my mind was how easily I could kill them, and get a clip of them crying about the game, but how like for me like I know okay if I 5x Thorax shot them, they're going to know I'm cheating. But if I don't use aimbot and I shoot their legs and arms first and spray all over and then lock their chest and kill them, they won't even know they just got cheated on. Because I've got clips of them literally saying it. Like I've got clips of them saying, "Oh, that was that guy that was that guy from last round who shot me in the leg and then the arm and then the chest and then the head and the chest and killed me. That's that guy. I didn't think he was cheating, but he's cheating. He's stream sniping." And if someone wants to be like, if someone wants to seem legit, it's really not hard. Like, if someone wants to go blatant, it's really not hard because you just lock chest and you just shoot chest. Or if someone wants to go really blatant, they just insta head tap you, which I've done myself. In most cases, like I've got videos myself of me killing Australian Tarkov emissaries. Like they're literally on stream talking shit about me, saying I'm a piece of shit and I just stream snipe streamers and I'm a scumbag. And then I literally kill them that raid, and they're like, oh damn it, okay. And they don't even know. They don't even know they're being cheated on. Because I shoot them in the leg, then the arm, then the chest, then the head, then the chest, then the arm, then the chest, and they die. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, alright, sweet, yep, that guy just outplayed me. And it's just like, it's so easy to, like, and I've got videos to prove it. Like, one of the Australian Tarkov emissaries, he's literally on stream saying, you won't stream snipe me. Because I know what he's doing. He's trying to ban my account, and he's throwing his account and gear out there and saying, come kill me because I'll ban you if you do. And then I load into the same raid as him and I kill him. And then I literally watch him on stream sit there and question whether that player was legit or not. And then literally watch him sit there and say, that guy was legit. Because I didn't use aimbot and just ping his chest or head. Because and I've got clips of it, and these guys literally sit there and be like, oh, he hit me all over my body, I just got caught in a bad position, and then the next raid, I just flat out fucking rage on them, and just insta-head tap them, or insta-all chest them. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, that's that guy from last raid. That's that guy who hit me all over, it's the same guy again, he's cheating, he's stream sniping, it's that troll, it's this guy. And then it's like, well, last raid you didn't know. Last raid you had no idea. If that was me playing legit, and if that was me playing the character of someone who's legit, you wouldn't have known. Do you know what I mean? Like, if my goal was to just play this wipe as a legit player, you wouldn't have even known. Because I could have just sprayed your whole body and then killed you, and you would have had no idea. You just assume, of one factor of, are they only hitting one body place, and if they are, then they're a cheater,
I think everyone's perception of what being killed by a cheater is completely different, and this is what I've been saying for a long time. The community can only formulate their opinions based off the information they have available to them. So most people are going to assume that a cheater is someone that jumps around a corner, headshots you multiple times, doesn't care, doesn't give a crap. They'll just kill you, and they won't fear being banned.
Yeah.
But there are different types of cheaters. It's a whole ecosystem of different types of people. There are a lot of people that will hide it. They'll go to great lengths to hide it, such as even buying a separate computer to run your cheats on a separate computer using another device. People will go to those lengths and measures to get what they want. And obviously a lot of streamers, that's for sure. But it's basically, as I said, you've got a lot of people who have some really strong opinions on the situation and how they feel about everything. And unfortunately, I don't want to be a dick, but I'm going to say this, most of the stuff that these guys are saying, it's kind of fueled by emotion. They're angry, know? And I mean, I would be too. You're spending, your time doing something you should be enjoying, right? You don't get paid to do it. You're giving your time to it. And you're, potentially getting shit on by someone who's cheating. I mean, it sucks. I get it. But formulating certain opinions online and claiming that, obviously you're aware of the situation and all this stuff, and the only real information you probably get is either from very bad scav or the goat video and all that stuff, then I feel like maybe if you do want to find out more about it, there are other means of which you can go to. I'll give you a little clue, a Google search that you could do, and you could find out more about, how things work. And it's not just you gotta remember, cheating isn't just about, it's not just about Tarkov cheating, it's about the whole thing. So if you want to get a kind of glance into how this really works, or you're curious, there are plenty of educational videos about this sort of stuff, which aren't malicious or any of that kind. They're literally just informal videos, and maybe these guys will learn a little bit more about it. Obviously, it's a lot of frustration. And people are upset about it, and I can completely relate.
I remember having this conversation with you. Even as someone who's cheated, or someone who's done the wrong thing and worked against BSG, what's your opinion on someone who pretends to be an amazing cracked player, but yet they're using a program? See, me, I'm someone who, I know I can troll a streamer and pretend to be legit, and that's what blew my mind, is with even while using a program, it is like the most easiest thing on the planet to pretend to be legit, and it's just so easy to do, and that's like something that like I like, even as someone who's cheated, no one likes that guy who plays the game every day or who streams every day and pretends to be this cracked fucking Jesus player who just makes all the right plays. And what's your insight on someone who plays like that? Someone who, let's say for example, someone uses your program and streams every day and pretends to be a cracked player and pretends to be Jesus in the game, and they're just an amazing player. Like, for me, as someone who used to rage cheat on streamers, and even someone who used to oppose as a legit player and then troll streamers and then just completely rage on the next raid, and then they'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, that guy was cheating. And then they'd realise, and they'd go on a complete 20-minute rant and cry about it. Like, what's your opinion on someone who does that? Even as a cheater and someone who does the wrong thing.
I guess I'll pull out the psychologist clipboard and put on my jacket real quick for this one. I would probably say you're looking at some form of insecurity. And I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not the social guy. But I will say, like, if you can't, host a live stream and have fun just playing the game as yourself, right? And you have to be this cracked player. Maybe you're trying to overcompensate for something. Maybe you lack personality. Maybe you lack sense of humor. Maybe you're nervous to engage with your audience. Maybe you think they won't like what they see. And the biggest thing I'd say to streamers, if any are watching, is embrace the fact that you're different. Like every guy who streams, like a lot of the big guys as well, it's their personality that sells.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the best thing about it, they're all different. And there will be streamers that people can relate to, and they'll be like, oh, I like this guy. He has the same sort of takes as I do. I'll watch him some more. But if you try and be this just cracked guy who's extremely toxic and sucks to be around, and just like, it's just not great fun to watch, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So, with that, I'll take the jacket off. But I'll say I think there's some issues there if that's what you're trying to make, especially if you're going to cheat, right? Are we talking about somebody that's cheating, or somebody that's just trying to look really good at the game?
So I'll give you an example. There's a couple of guys that I made videos about who were closet cheating, and I don't know, Gong Show, for example. Now I know he's someone who played with cheaters, and I know he's someone who progressed to cheating, and I literally inboxed him, okay? And there's more examples I can give you. Now, as someone who used to cheat and do the wrong thing, I literally, so Gong Show as an example, I inboxed this guy, okay? I spoke to this guy before I even put my video out, and I said, dude, I've cheated. I know what cheating is. You're cheating. Do you want to talk to me, and do you want to work through this, or do you want to pretend to be a cracked player and someone who is just a Jesus player and you're amazing, and I make this video and then thousands of people disagree with you? Or do you want to just be honest? Because, like, at the same time, it's like I was being dishonest about my past, and it's like, it's such a, I don't know how to explain it. It's because it's like when I cheated, I was just so, it's like, yeah, I could easily be, act like a legit player and troll you, but then completely rage on you the next raid, and you'd be like, oh, okay, that guy was cheating. Like I hated putting the burden on a player, and in most cases, 90% of cases, anyone who I killed when I was cheating, like all the streamers I killed when I was cheating, I know for a fact that they sit there and went, that person is cheating. That's not on me. And like, and I made it blatantly obvious that that was the case. Like, I would fly over someone and I would fuck with someone and I would talk shit with someone and I would talk shit in their chat and say, get good, idiot. And then I'd rage on them and watch them cry on stream. But it's like, you know you're being cheated on. You know someone's using a program to defeat you. But yet you're still this bent on and upset when that's the case. And it happened to me when I was streaming. Because people started rage cheating on me. And I know because I would stream and I'd have this. Like, I'll give you an example. There was this 15. He sounded 15. I don't know if he was actually 15, but he did say it. He was from the same server as me. He sounded 15, and he would say racial slurs, and I've had to delete my streams because of it. And this kid would scream racial and homophobic slurs and just complete rage cheat on me and kill me. And I would delete my streams. I remember saying this to my partner. I would be like, imagine that. I used to do this to people, and now that I'm playing legit, people are doing this to me. And like, it was like fascinating to me. I was like the karma, like the twist, you know? It was like, I used to do this to people, but now I'm a content creator and people are doing this to me for a reaction. And I remember when this kid first done it to me, and I don't know, Shig TTV, obviously he completely denies knowing me and he won't probably respond to this, but anyway, I was playing with him one day and this kid came up and called us the F slur, homophobic slur, and, you know, the N slur, racist slur, and then he insta head tapped both of us, and, you know, and he did it multiple times back to back. And I realized, oh, he's watching our stream. He's watching our stream and he's just trolling us. And I remember thinking, I was that guy, you know? He expects a reaction out of me right now. But I remember thinking, like, I remember being that person, you know? And I was like, hey, dude, do you want to play with us? Do you want to talk to us? Do you want to... Do you have anything to say? Do you want to... Is there anything you want to say on my stream? Is there anything, like, do you have anything you want to add to my stream? Or, and, you know, I gave him a chance to take the floor, and then his response was basically calling me a racial slur and F you and N-word and F you, N-word, and I was just like, well, you know, I've tried to give you the floor, you're not going to take it, and you're just going to be a troll. Good on you. And then I just moved on, and he kept doing it, and then I ended stream. I remember laying in bed that night, and I was like, I remember being that dude, you know? But the funny thing is, you know, some people do it for a reaction, and I guarantee you he didn't get that reaction out of me because I didn't cry on stream about it. I actually invited him onto my platform and asked him if he wanted to join a Discord call and talk about the game or talk about his, you know, and he didn't take it, and he decided to be racist and homophobic, and good on him, you know, that's what he wanted to project, good on him, you know, have a good day, that's cool, bro, you know, and that's all you can do as someone who's making content, you know, you can sit there and cry and react and give that person what they want, or, you know, you can actually do the complete opposite and give them a chance to take the floor, and in most cases they won't do it because they know that what they're trying to do is flawed, and they're just being a troll, and, you know, and I found that kind of interesting. Like, the psychology of it is like, I feel like he just kind of, because no one knew that at the time that I used to do exactly the same thing, and then when I pulled the Uno reverse on him, and I was like, hey, bro, do you want to come on my stream and talk to me? I feel like he, you know, no one did that to me. Everyone just sat there and cried for half an hour, and it just made for an amazing video, and it was funny. But whereas when I was like, you know, it's like some people just do it for a reaction. But the sad thing is, 97, 98% of people just do it to pretend to be an amazing player or to progress in the game, and that's not the case. Whereas I was kind of like, what's the word? I was kind of, because this kid, he had like a level 50 account, he was EOD, and I was kind of like, in my head, I was like, wow, this guy's like he's just flat out raging on people that are streaming, and he doesn't give a fuck, and maybe he'll talk to me, and, and I tried to give him the chance to do that, but he didn't want to do that, but, obviously, whatever. But the sad thing is, 90, 97, 98, 99% of people that are cheating, they're solely just cheating to pretend to be good at the game, and they're not like that. And even as someone who done the wrong thing, those kind of people just annoy me, and and I remember having this conversation with you, like, behind the scenes, and it's like to pretend that you're just this amazing player, but you're actually using a program against people all day to just solely pretend that you're a good player. No one likes that guy. Not even and the crazy thing is, most of the people doing that will give information on that person because no one likes that guy. Like, I just
what's even more important than that?
Yeah.
Sorry to interject there, but I'll just say, like, people don't like that guy, but then also the person who's using the cheats won't like themselves, because if you have to play with your friends and fake every time you get a Lennox and go, oh my god, dude, I found 9 in one day, and be like surprised, like, you're a clown. In my eyes, like,
you going? Really, I remember you saying this to me. What are you going for? You're going for the Oscar every time you find a valuable item.
You're trying to get an Oscar-winning performance.
You're trying to win the Oscar.
Or a GPU.
Oh my god, I found a GPU, bro! And you're trying to win the fucking Oscar every time. You know what I mean? No one likes that guy. Like,
and if you start finding a GPU every raid, and like your teammates have, your teammate's got a fucking parrot, and you've got a GPU, a LEDX, and a fucking defib.
Yeah.
And you're chilling, and he's got his fucking parrot worth 20k.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, dude, like 5 in a row. Like, is your friend really gonna think that you're legit? He's gonna be like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty legit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the problem. It's like, it's the energy. It's not just the fact that you now have the capability to see players through walls, to see where the loot is, all of the amazing features these products can offer. You now have to hide it, and look like you don't have it when you play with your friends.
Yeah.
Now, most of these products are not stream-proof on Discord. So, like, in most cases, obviously, Tarkov doesn't have a system where you can see, like, a player name tag through a wall. So, you rely on streaming to one another. So, like, a product, in most cases, one of the biggest things that will be yay or nay for the consumer is it stream-proof? Can you... And that, for me, that tells me all I need to know. Is like, most of these guys are people that want these sort of products that won't show on stream, that are kind of stealthy, and they can play with their friends and get the credit they will. I wouldn't say they deserve, because they don't deserve it, but the credit that they so desire.
Yeah.
They can finally get by exploiting the game like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as I said, like, as soon as you go down that road, it only gets worse. It only gets darker, and eventually, I do read your comments to your videos, because it does interest me. Like,
it interests me too. It does.
I read what people think about it, and like, I hear a lot of guys who say, like, oh, once a cheater, like,
always a cheater.
And stuff like that. This does go flying around. I will say that it's extremely difficult to come back after using this sort of aid. You know what I mean? If it's not easy to come back around.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible either. So, don't be an ass.
And I remember having this conversation with you when you were like, hey, are you playing legit? And I'd be like, yeah, and it fucking sucks. And you'd be like, dude, you know you're going to get caught if you're streaming and you're playing with people in your community, and if you're cheating, people are going to catch you. They're not dumb, you know. And I would say to you, bro, it just fucking sucks when you used to cheat and everyone's cheating, but you know you're getting cheated on all day and you still do it anyway. And you would say to me, dude, you're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be someone who pretends to be a cracked player? And I used to love those conversations with you where you'd say this to me, but it was like so frustrating because it's like, you know the reality of the game and it fucking sucks. Like everyone's cheating. Like a lot of people are cheating, you know, and you're in these lobbies and you know how many cheaters there are because you've seen it, you know, you've seen it, but you still do it knowing the case, and it just sucks. It just sucks. Like it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's so brutal.
It's kind of strange because everyone thinks that the Tarkov cheating problem is so in depth and so much worse than any other game we've seen before in the past, and it's definitely not true. There are plenty of games that have really, really bad, situations where people are, fucking with the game, exploiting the engine of which the game is made on, evading the anti-cheat, which in some cases the anti-cheat isn't up to scratch. That can be the case, and it allows people to get away with making products. You got to think of it like this: essentially, the capabilities and the ability of the anti-cheat will restrict the amount of people that can make their own cheat and start selling it, right? Because you would basically slowly kind of narrow it down to the experienced guys eventually. Once you really cranked up the difficulty settings, that's what I'm going to call it, right? In terms of how people that are coming up can do this thing, because everybody, like, they'll hear stories about people who made money from selling cheats for video games and stuff like that, and it interests them, but they don't hear anything about the negatives, about the downsides of it. And I will say there have been really, like, there's been a lot of things I didn't expect that would happen have gone like the wrong way. Friendships have been ruined and stuff like that. It's a lot of it's over money, and it's like, honestly, most of the guys I work with know this. Once I can get a legitimate job, I will probably walk away from this because I think it's had a negative impact on my life, and definitely my love for video games. It started. Remember how, like, when we started this conversation, I mentioned, like, I was curious. I would like to take things apart. I'd like to learn how they work, and it became innocent curiosity until eventually, things did get more, sinister, and we started looking at, ways to get around certain security protocols, and it then basically kind of took off. The thing I remember, this started off from general interest on how things were made. So why not, put that into something, productive, where I'm actually, rather than ruining something, because as I said, I do respect NAKITA and the team at BSG. I also respect the guys at BATTLEYE. Why spend so much time, fighting them when, eventually you could go and make your own things and be like them? And if I'm being quite honest, I'm actually quite jealous of them. And I think anybody who says that they're not, is probably bullshitting you. These guys are extremely successful. I am jealous of them, but I'm honest enough to admit that that is the case. I wish there was things I did to take the correct route in terms of being able to make money in this community while fighting
and do something
for
positive.
what I would believe was the right side. Something productive.
And constructive.
Yeah, rather than, tearing things down. But I think that will probably happen.
And something I want to ask you, is it so much easier to exploit something and be destructive as opposed to build something in the gaming community?
Absolutely. And there's far less risk. I mean, NAKITA went all in with his game.
Yeah.
You know, he really did. I mean, he spent a shit ton of money on the promotional events for the his arena. Right?
Yeah.
Um, that was huge. They had huge expenses there. He's really like took some big risks, and he's performed very well. And there's plenty of other game developers like NV2. That was what I wanted to do, believe it or not. That was actually what I had wanted, but I settled for less, I guess, because
Yeah.
I didn't think that I would have the ability or the connections to actually make something. I felt like it was almost too much for me to try and do it, especially being quite young. It wasn't something that was viable for me, and the only thing I could do is kind of like, you know, take the work of the guys who have made it and, you know, exploit what they've done essentially.
Yeah.
It's kind of what led me up to where I am today. But as I mentioned earlier regarding my background, I'm already kind of taking the initial steps away from this.
That's what like
that's
kind
why
of
I'm kind of
blows my
willing to talk as
mind
well.
when I see someone like NAKITA talk on his game and the people exploiting it. He just seems so drained and just annoyed and frustrated. And it's like when I talk to people like you and I understand the work you put in to exploit the game, it's like I think, you know, imagine this person, someone who's put in the amount of work to create something, and then he's just, and that's an example like I want to, like I've tried to make on my channel is, let's say for example you stop what you're doing today. Let's say you stop, you magically have an epiphany and you stop what you're doing today. How many more people do you think are doing exactly what you're doing right now will take your place, or are doing your or are doing exactly what you're doing right now?
Hundreds.
How many teams? No, I'm not just saying people. Like how many teams? Like how many
No, I meant
groups?
teams. Hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds of teams.
Like, and in
You
those
know,
teams, how many people are we talking? Like,
thousands.
yeah, you're talking thousands of people, that are out to exploit what 100 people making a game, and
Yeah.
and then you have this player base that just complains because 100 people aren't defeating thousands of people daily trying to exploit them. And it's like, you know, it's so much easier to exploit something than to create something, right?
Yeah.
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 And it's like, you know, just so many people, like you're talking hundreds of thousands of people just shit on, you know, NAKITA and his group of people. But it's like, off the rip, they're fighting a losing battle, right? Like they're trying to make something safe. A game, for example. They're trying to make a game safe. And they're instantly off the rip, they're fighting a losing battle. And then on top of that, they're fighting thousands of people as opposed to their 50 to 100 people. And then,
Yeah. Well, I'll just add one thing to that. Essentially, the good news for them is essentially these 1,000 people are far from a unity. They are completely, you know, at each other's neck most of the time, trying to get the one up on each other. I mean, if these guys were working together as one, you know, big collective, which would never happen, it's a hypothetical.
yeah.
They would have a much different animal to deal with, and I do think if that was the case,
That's
these more
actually,
invasive measures would be, you know, they would suffice. But the
that's
fact
actually
that there's
something
so
I
much
wanted to ask
division,
you is like,
yeah.
so when you're daily coding against BSG and BATTLEYE, who puts up the most resistance? Is it BSG or BATTLEYE?
Well, let's just remember they're two separate entities.
Yeah. It's kind of like the
So
FBI and the CIA. They work against each other and they don't help each other, but they're both trying to achieve the same thing. But like, who gets the most done? BSG or BATTLEYE?
depends on the update, really. There's they both update obviously, so the game updates, which will essentially change the code, which would mean that we need to make some adjustments to make sure that the product functions correctly. But then there's also things with the anti-cheat itself. They could add more things, more checks. there's plenty of stuff they can do, but I'll just say this. I won't go into too much detail, but I can say this. In my case, the same way that the game can be attacked, so can the anti-cheat. And I don't think many people are aware, or maybe they're aware, but maybe they don't think about that. That as well as there's vulnerabilities in the game, there's also vulnerabilities with the anti-cheat. They did. I'll give credit to the guys at BATTLEYE. Their last update was actually really good. It sucks for me because I have to deal with it, but their last update was pretty top notch.
Is that BSG
updates,
or BATTLEYE?
That's the BATTLEYE update I'm referring to, the most recent update.
Yeah.
I won't go into detail of what they did, but it was a good update.
Yeah.
It's something I have to work on now. It's probably going to take me a couple of months to figure out, and that's like me being optimistic. But the game itself, I mean, what they could do, I said I wouldn't do their job for them, but they should remember that obviously the life as a developer is about updating the product. So frequent updates are a pain in the ass and they are hard to deal with. And it means as a developer you have to be proactive. You can't just sit back and let your money machine keep printing. You have to keep updating your product to the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's not an answer I can say definitively one does better than the other. And then you also got to bring into the fact that it wouldn't be fair for me to do that
Because I just want to like I know you yourself. You're a part of the cheating community. You've seen the memes about BATTLEYE, and it's a completely useless anti-cheat. And is BATTLEYE a useless anti-cheat, or are they actually doing something?
BATTLEYE are doing something. The genuine consensus of the player base is kind of the opinions we get, and you hear things like battle shit and all this stuff being thrown around, and honestly it makes me laugh because I'm like, if any of these guys had to do the shit that I had to do to stay UD, and they would realize it's not so shit, and it takes like some decent experience to manage. Even some of my friends who have got years of experience have constantly been hit by them. They've actually done a good job. I'd say they have done a good job. And
are they a worthy opponent? It's kind of like this is what I'm trying to this is what I'm trying to project. It's like when you listen to an interview with someone who's been at war, like a World War II veteran or an Iraqi war veteran, and they have nothing but like respectable things to say about their enemy. Someone who they fought, like say someone in World War II fought against the Japanese, and they're like, they are the most fearless opponent. They will fucking push you, and they are the most fearless opponent on the planet. They will do anything to destroy you, and you think that's your enemy. Why do you talk about your enemy like that? Aren't they someone that you completely disrespect and you hate, but they only have anything but positive to say? Like BATTLEYE as your opponent, are they someone you like? Are they doing anything? Do you respect them? Do you like?
Well, who said I should hate them? I mean, like that's the thing, right? I don't see why I would have any hard feelings towards them. I guess maybe if I was a skid and I was having issues with keeping my products up to date because of them, maybe I'd have some frustration. But I really don't feel that way. I've shown respect to my adversaries and people I work with and people I work against. It's kind of why I've maintained a somewhat of a semi-decent reputation in the community. But I think, honestly, in terms of the respect, as I said, I'm jealous of them, if I'm being honest, because they've done, a good thing. They've created something. Like, here's the thing. So if you're if you're someone that makes content on, I'll do a YouTube, so it's kind of like directed to you a little bit. So let's say you're somebody that makes your own videos, you plan and create this fresh idea of content, right? That's great. You took a risk, you took a dive, you did something which was like authentic. If your whole channel is built around just reviewing every single video and that's how you get content, I don't like it so much. What I like about you is that you do review some stuff, but then you also do make some videos, So it's not all.
Yeah.
I think probably you're going to get a lot of people who will go like, oh, you're probably a guy who just reviews, streamers for views, and all that stuff. But the thing is like, it's not like they haven't done that, right? And as long as
Yeah.
there's somewhat of a balance, like we're seeing that you're at least making your own stuff, that's good. I mean, we're in the midst of doing that right now, which is great. So it's quite cool to see, but as I said, I like when people make their own stuff. It shows that they're willing to take a risk and
Yeah.
they are willing to put in the work. So I think that does deserve some respect, which is fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll play more of this video. I don't think there's much left of it, to be honest. I think it's
Go ahead.
Pestelli he leans on cheating a little bit, and then he gets off the subject because he can tell it's kind of like a sore wound. But anyway, yeah.
Year that passes, we get better computers and all that. So hopefully people can eventually get to the point where they've got a computer good enough. But I think if there was one thing drawing people away from this game more than anything, it is cheaters. And so I've got a lot of points and questions to bring up on this cheating topic, but I just needed to emphasize that right here because, you can't even open up Reddit without at least 5 out of the fucking first 10 posts being about cheaters. And what do you think of these stats? Mobile phone authentication.
We have this authentication for the specific regions, and
Now, I will say this. Call of Duty has done this. Didn't help them at all. Call of Duty has in my opinion, I might be wrong, Call of Duty has a way worse cheating problem than Tarkov. It's a free-to-play game, though. Completely different field, and that game's been finished for fucking years. Years and years and years that game's been finished. They introduced this. Like, I remember putting in my phone, what grown man on the planet doesn't know 5 different phone numbers he can ask for a code off? You know what I mean? Do you think...
Bear in mind that SIM cards you can get for free.
Yeah.
I can buy a whole batch of SIM cards, probably 50 of them for like probably less than $5. Right?
Yeah.
I can get a shit ton of them.
Do you think it would help with Tarkov? Do you think phone authentication would help with Tarkov?
I'll do this because they're going to go through a list. I'll just say that this idea 2 out of 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
silly.
2 out of 10.
It's a
Yeah.
Band-Aid patch. Call of Duty did it, didn't work, and it will never work because what grown man, or even what 15-year-old doesn't know 5 different phone numbers he can text and say, hey, what's that code you just got? But anyway, okay, we'll move on.
It doesn't work because literally all the cheaters mostly use like the virtual SIM cards and everything, so it's pretty
There you go.
easy for them.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
It's basically said what I've said. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. It's kind of like me
That's good
when
from him.
when I was doing the wrong thing. It's like, what person doesn't know 5 different mobile numbers they can text and say, hey, what's that code you just got? It's not going to help. Like, come on now.
The strategy's been employed and
And-
failed. So
Oh,
Because it's still, you were
okay.
saying it feels.
All right, we'll probably have to skip this, but I just accidentally clicked.
This is the
Sorry,
topic that
sorry.
everyone screams, and you know what's going to be. We need to talk about cheaters. There's a few things that were very common with the people's comments and questions.
Like the virtual SIM cards and everything, so it's pretty easy for them to change their numbers and everything. So again, it's not that easy. It literally we would implemented it a long time ago, but
It's not that easy. I mean, yeah, they can implement it, but is it a waste of time?
I feel like he's stumbling here a little bit. It's you could just give a simple no answer to that
Yeah,
question,
yeah,
and just turn around and say it's a strategy that's been employed by other games. It hasn't worked, and that's why
yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time doing it.
See, I feel like what can he say here? What can he say? People are offering him suggestions that don't work. What can he say? Can he just be the prick who's skeptical and just says, "No, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about." Or like all he can do is just sit here and be like, and do exactly what he's doing right now. Like if you look at him and his reaction, he's like, "No, it's not. That's not how it works. It's not that easy." And that's exactly what he's doing. You know what I mean? It's like, uh, you know,
But yeah, like there is like options. There is options for like to have additional authentication, and something will be done for the release for sure. Like we need to add something for that, and maybe even to start forcing players to make some changes in the system. If you want to play like in the cheater-free environment, you need to make some changes with your PC. But again, it will hit the player base literally. Not everyone understand how exactly he should go there. He should go to.
like putting on your psychology coat right now. Like his reactions to these questions. Like what do you take from this? I know what I take from it. What do you take from this?
It's kind of squirming a little bit. I mean, like I had a solution for what I believe was a good solution for the problem that he's currently describing. If you have to create a separate pool to have players play in a legit environment, I'm sorry, you've already failed, right? Because you're basically like there's things that you could do which are much easier to implement than this, right? One big thing I ask if NAKITA's watching this video, is make 2 servers. Have a server that has a wipe and have a server that doesn't have a wipe. Eventually, in the server that doesn't have a wipe, items will become less desirable because there isn't a wipe. There isn't a sense that you're going to lose them and need them again.
Yeah.
Right? Players can then play on that server and expect to find people that want to play in sort of a peaceful, not necessarily a peaceful, but a more relaxed environment. Right?
Yeah.
If you can consistently ram this idea of a 6-month wipe system down the throats of players and say, no, this is what you'll do. You either play this or you don't, right? Which means that if I play Tarkov and I level up to like level 30 and I go on holiday for like 5 months and I come back, I've lost all of that. I got to start again.
Yeah.
And you can see why people are really like, dropping the morals and doing shit like this because the game's it's built for them. And like the marketplace for for carries for loot, I honestly suspect that millions of dollars have gone through people buying in-game items and stuff like that. And I know it's really the case because I've seen how many temporary bans have been issued out from.
And I know people that literally
that.
spend their entire day just carrying legit players or quote legit players, and they go through the same things I do, but they still profit and make money, and they still do it every day because the amount of people that are just like, there's a never ending lineup of people that will want to progress in the game and be something in the game, and it's just like it's never ending. Like you're never going to win that. Yep.
You'll see a lot of if they did employ the strategy I just mentioned, which was with the basically their servers that didn't wipe. You eventually, like early on, you'd see lots of cheaters. You will. But the idea is eventually they'll fade out.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than creating this.
Because how far can you progress?
Yeah, because he's talking about creating not 2 servers, but 2 different platforms where one you can play normal and just be thrown into all the players of maybe like low spec computers, and then one if you want to play the game clean, where there are some serious performance defects, but you do play in lobbies which are quote unquote cleaner. It's like, I don't really think you've done good by the community by doing that. I think you've divided it, right? Creating a permanent and a wipe system for two different platforms would be a much more viable approach to this problem that he's currently talking about. I won't yap on for too long, so you can continue playing if you'd like to.
Yeah.
The BIOS and change some things in BIOS, for example. And yeah, it's not that easy. Again, like to make some kind of changes on the go, and it needs to be.
It's not a simple solution. I understand that.
Yeah. We need to look into it. We need to gather the statistics and everything. So
I think another thing people would really like is a way to report people besides being from death. Particularly, I know on OCE servers, but also around the world, you'll see people in factory just loading in and dying over and over again to tank their kill death. And it's very obvious. Like, they just go in there, they're running around, they've got like a macro to make them run around in circles and all that. But would it be possible for to get something implemented into the game where we can report just literally via someone's name? And it doesn't mean they're going to get banned, but it just means they get looked at by an actual human. Because obviously, if someone's got like 1,400 raids and they've got 1,200 deaths, but they've got like a 40 kill streak, 40 survive streak, you know that like they went on a 40 rampage and then they went to factory to tank their KD. It gets pretty obvious when you see these people in factory. So I think, and that would also
like I see this a lot. Like I noticed this when I was playing legit. Like you see the guys that have like 20% survival rate. They only survive 20% of the time, and they've had 800 raids, but they have like a 30-40 survival streak, and it's like, it's pretty blatantly obvious what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
so incorporate people.
I'd like to hear Nikita's response to this, and I'll give my response. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
already
being
know what
able
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
To report suspicious people on the flea market. You know, someone who's got a 40-hour account but has like 80 flea market rep and they're selling 100 graphics cards. People want to be able to report these people because they're frustrated when they see them. They're like, how obvious is this person cheating? And is it that this person is cheating, but we can't even fucking report them? And that pisses people off. So I think it would go a long way if we have another method in which we can report people besides just dying. This is another question that comes up, and I think I understand why it's there, but I think it might be time for some action to take place. But bulk account sales. Most people just are not buying bulk accounts because of they're going to buy it for all their mates. I think generally speaking, these bulk accounts would most likely be bought by cheaters or people with stolen credit cards to buy in masses and shit, and less likely that people are buying an account for their friend. I've bought bulk myself to give away for events and stuff, but I think most people don't like it. Just even it being there. I'm just being honest, telling you how it is, how people perceive it.
So limit the selling on this account somehow. You're like thinking about that or something?
No, because when you go to buy Escape from Tarkov, you can buy 4 accounts for a discount.
Bulk. Yes, I see. Yeah. Okay, I get it.
There's a few people asking, is it possible for you to sue the cheat developers? Apparently.
This is something I definitely wanted to ask you. Okay, so
I just want to quickly dissect, because I feel like Pesley just went off on a rampage there and brought up multiple things. I'm gonna answer them before I forget, because I might forget. How about this, smart ass? Instead of having a way of manually reporting someone for loading into factory with no weapon running around, why not automatically ban people that load into multiple raids, or flag people, right, which is very easy to do, who load into a raid with no gun, nothing, and die on factory.
My question: do they already do that? Do they already do that?
No.
They don't?
They don't.
Now,
they do not do that.
Something I want to say to you. I've been told there's something in place right now, actively, that knows when a player is loading into raids with no gun, no vest on, no bag, multiple times over and over. I've been told that that is actually in place right now.
I'll disagree.
Disagree?
I've 100%. I'm not sure where you heard that. but as far as I can see, right? Well, think about it like this, right? So if these KD droppers, right, are dealt with and they're in the past, that's one of the most commonly sold things on the marketplace. I think it would have been noted by now if individuals were receiving bans for this, right?
Yeah.
So I think what we hear is a lot of rumors. I've heard lots of things that apparently BATTLEYE or BSG have implemented. Right, we're not even at release. Okay, I do not suspect for a second that they have implemented these changes.
Now,
these are common sense changes. These aren't crazy groundbreaking things.
I'll just say this: accounts that I've raged on solely to kill streamers, and then I've used some kind of device to drop my KD and seem legit. Those accounts have got banned a lot quicker than accounts I have personally loaded into raids with a gun and a rig and intentionally died. And my opinion is there's some there's, I don't know what it is, but a person who loads into a raid with an SVT and a rig 20 times in a row and dies even after shooting 1 or 2 shots, that person is going to get banned, way less chance of a person who's going to get banned who drops their KD intentionally with no gear on, and that's my experience because I've done that. I know how to make an account seem legit and use it to rage on streamers for weeks straight and not get caught cheating, as opposed to an account that has, I don't know. My opinion is there's something in place already and they're just not saying what it is yet. And it has something to do with an account loading in without gear on. Because I know that accounts that load in with gear on and die, those accounts don't get banned. And I know that that's happening because accounts that I've done that on don't get banned. As opposed to accounts that load in with no gear and die, those accounts get banned very quick.
Okay. So there's a few things to factor in. This is kind of what I go off. So everybody has their own personal experiences with the game and, how, bans perform. The same way you feel, I'd find 10 guys that would say they feel slightly different. Like maybe there is, maybe there isn't. There'd be a lot of speculation. So what I tend to do is I tend to use people such as like big sellers, and I'll contact them and I'll be like, okay, have you been receiving any bans for this? And essentially, like, if there is a situation where you're seeing a mass amount of people starting to get bans, I will then go and personally investigate what it is that's causing it, right?
Yeah.
But until I don't have, if I don't have that nudge, I don't do anything, because it's not enough for me to actually go like, okay, it looks like it's true. Because, for example, if a product was detected, right, your customers would make you well aware of that, and I'm sure you're more than you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. The people are very vocal when it's funny to me. They're very vocal when they get banned, but they realize that they're completely breaking TOS and they've been playing the game for like 8 months and haven't received a ban.
It's the cheat's fault they got banned. It's never theirs, and
Yeah. Customs always right. Right? So I guess they're onto something. Basically, what I will say is everything that I do is based off a kind of system. So if the people that I'm friends with who sell, and these aren't any like small time sellers, these are guys who are shifting a lot of gears. Like those guys, if they say, okay, like I have a feeling like they're doing something about this, I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But we're very in touch. Luckily, the way that I do things is slightly different from a lot of people. I'm not a dick.
If there was some kind of code in the game that knew that someone was doing that, would you know?
Yes.
Okay, now
If I wanted to.
in saying that, if someone got
Mhm.
manually reviewed, would BSG or BATTLEYE know? If they were loading in with no gear and constantly dying.
So, there's a lot of information that's stored on the server. So, like, it's completely down to how they store that information. So, if they have a complete log of all of the previous raids and their previous performance, then they could actually do stuff on their end, which I wouldn't really be able to see much of, unless I compromised their actual servers. I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But realistically, do we live in a world where you have a game with that many players where manual reviews are actually effectively done?
I've been
I
banned
mentioned
manually
that
many times. Like many times. Manually. Only because I've had streamers literally type on their second keyboard and an hour later I'm banned. So
Well, that's
like
the thing.
you
You're
know
targeting streamers, so I mean, it's not.
yeah,
It's much
yeah,
different
yeah.
from
I'm
your
different.
everyday cheater.
But
Yeah, yeah.
obviously the average person who plays under the radar every day, which I know how easy it is to do, they could easily pull that off for an entire wipe and get away with it. I'm killing,
Sometimes a year.
easily 2, 3, 4 wipes easily. I know people that have,
Yeah.
I'm blatantly raging on the person you're seeing on your screen right now. Like I'm blatantly raging on that person saying I'm cheating, get good, loser, and then raging on them and flying around in front of their face and killing them. That's obviously
Yeah.
why I'm getting banned. But I do know people who can go an entire wipe without getting banned, who spend their entire wipe acting legit and dying in a certain way and doing things in a certain way and that know how to get away with it, and there is unfortunately, I love this game, but you can get away with it. Like you just can,
Yep.
If that's your
That
prerogative.
applies to most. That applies to most video games. Let's remember that. I mean, it's not like there's some games have done a really good job of making this tricky. And like, I'll give an example. I mentioned War Thunder earlier, and this is like how effective a replay system really is. Um, you I've tried playing with cheats on War Thunder, but I was
Yeah.
so scared of losing my account that I
Yeah.
stopped. Because I quickly realized that yes, on my screen I can see like guys through a bush, I can see his box. Like they do a couple of other things which are really cool, which are like anti-cheating things. It's not like an easy they work with easy anti-cheat. It's not an easy anti-cheat thing, it's actually what they do.
Yeah.
It's a Gaussian thing.
Yeah.
But essentially like the replay system, it gives you ESP, it gives you chams. Chams, by the way, is when you change the color of the item. So for example in Tarkov you would see that a player is pink, bright pink, and that makes sure that you stand out to them, so they're
Yeah.
going to be able to see you clearly. The game will give you chams for the replays, so you can see like if there's any actual glimpse of that vehicle, if there was any possible way you could have seen that enemy vehicle to engage it. They've actually made it horrendously difficult
Yeah.
to cheat on that game and not be shitting yourself whenever you kill someone with cheats, because maybe that guy is the type of guy who will open up the replay and might give it to one of the guys who makes the YouTube videos regarding exposing cheaters on War Thunder, because he doesn't just make videos himself, he also takes admissions. So if you get killed by someone and you're certain it's a cheater, he'll broadcast it on YouTube for you. He'll
Yeah.
make a video for you and then expose the name of that player.
Yeah.
There are things that you can put in place. I'm not saying this is the be-all end-all fix for Tarkov. It's not something easy to implement as well. It's extremely difficult. But what I will say are there's many different ways that you could make a life of a cheater more difficult with Tarkov than what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of invasive anti-cheat, I feel like they've completely like skipped over like 20 more things they could have implemented, and just said, okay, well now we need to take drastic measures, and it's definitely maybe it's something that Nikita's struggling with. I can see, but
So to get to the
the
question in the video, so basically, if Nikita were to sue you, okay, let's say Nikita just one day woke up and said, I want to sue you in the country that you're in and your online security and everything else, would it be possible for him to just wake up one day from Russia and just sue you because you're creating something that exploits his game? What would be the logistics of that?
He has no jurisdiction here, so I'd wipe my ass with it. Like he can't sue me for what I'm doing, and it's kind of like,
Even though you're exploiting his game?
yes, because of international law, he can't. He's in Russia. You think that
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been living under a rock. But maybe people are aware if there's a current situation.
You don't have to tell
regarding
me,
the
but just
West
explain
and
it to the
Russia.
viewer.
There's
Yeah,
the-
yeah. Just explain it to the viewer.
I'll
You have
just
to tell me.
I'll just say there isn't a state of cooperation between the West and the East.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna say there's a war going on at the moment that involves people that speak Russian, people that also speak Russian, and then some Western taxpayers that are having some fun. So it's like, essentially, I don't fear that, and I'm not really. That's like the least of my concerns. I have far more concerning things than that to consider.
Yeah. If you did get a letter in the mail saying you're being sued by someone in Russia, what would be... I'm sorry to insult your intelligence, but what would be your level of concern, if you had to show up in a Russian court because you were exploiting a Russian game?
The same day
I'm
I'd
sorry,
be dragged
I'm
into
sorry.
a Russian court for making a Tarkov cheat, pigs would fly.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
There's much more likely things to happen. No, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I said I'd answer all questions.
These are the kind of questions the player base asks. Like, I've got to ask you.
Yep.
That's
That's the answer to that question. I'm not being an egomaniac. I'm genuinely saying,
yeah.
the current state of affairs is so bad, you're not going to see any cooperation. Okay? Probably from my accent, I would assume that the majority of people will know where I'm from.
Yeah.
We've had civilians who have been, murdered by what we believe is, FSB, right? Which, if you Google that is essentially Russia's intelligence service,
Yeah.
right? Who act overseas and obviously at their own country as well. We've had those situations, and there's been very little cooperation there. So I think some weirdo who likes computers is probably not on that list. Hopefully no one puts polonium in my McDonald's anytime soon. But
Yeah. Or on your door handle.
I think I'm okay.
Or on your door handle.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty safe.
Yeah. I think you got more chance of polonium being put on your door handle than you do have being sued. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong, but
Yeah.
But
The letter, I don't think that letter's coming anytime soon.
yeah. But anyway, these are the kind of questions people ask. So I've got to ask you, obviously.
No, absolutely, it's fine. I just laughed a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's valid.
Okay. All right. We'll go to the next thing. I've been I'll just say this. I've been threatened to be sued by Bohemia Interactive, and I've been threatened to be sued on this channel, on my channel, 10IQ Gaming, by people who stream because of my opinions, and I'm always going to say this, and I'm always going to project this. If someone wants to come to Australia to bumfuck nowhere, get off a plane and wrestle through some bushland and get past the wildlife to come and serve me with some paperwork to sue me and pay the hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it, then I'll be honest, I'm going to applaud you. you know, if you're gonna sue me for my opinion and what I'm trying to say on the internet, then I honestly I applaud you, because I'm not showing up to fucking the US, and that you know, I've had people threaten it, and honestly, it's laughable. Like it's laughable, you know. But anyway,
It's more like a scare tactic than
Yeah.
an actual.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the player base, you know, they seem to think that's an option. You know, you could just randomly sue some guy from China or fucking.
Just think about how many court cases that would be for Tarkov, just
Yeah.
to clean house, and then also all of the up and coming guys would just replace the ones that were gone.
Yeah.
If we generally lived in a world where they could just
Just sue everyone
right-click
that.
and delete every single provider, they would still have to deal with the up and coming guys.
Yeah.
And as the old guys leave, there's more demand in the market, so there's more
Yeah.
people who are keen and eager to get
Yeah.
involved.
I definitely wanted to talk about that because that was a. Anyway, we'll move on to the
That's
next thing. We'll move on to the next thing anyway.
Go ahead.
Halo did it and was successful. So can you go out and find them and sue them? Is that possible?
It's possible, but it's not like the speedy process. Usually it takes up to 1 year or half the year or even higher to get them into a legal perspective. And we are working in that direction. But
Do you think he's working in that direction?
I'm gonna call bollocks on that one.
He's gonna sue you from war-torn Russia, and sue you.
Yeah.
Is he working on that or?
Quite honestly, I'm petrified. Yeah, I think that will definitely happen. No, obviously, I don't think that this guy is getting close to suing people.
Yeah.
When was the last time that he actually sued anyone for
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I don't want to be a dick, but get your game intact first, and once you've got that running and it's stable, then you've routed out most of the providers. Then start focusing on how you're going to target those individuals, because right now you're probably looking at a lot of these guys that make these products, by the way, a lot of them are below the age of 18. Good luck suing them.
Yeah.
Good job.
They
Good luck
don't
with
have
that.
anything.
Um,
You're talking about some kid in some country across the fucking planet who is most likely
Look-
living under a fake name that's even going to reply to you or even be found, that is probably
Yep.
16 anyway. And
Yep.
what are you going to get? Like, you're probably going to silence them under a fake name, and it's going to, blows. Anyway,
It's
we'll move on.
any.
We'll move on.
I'll say one more thing about this.
Yep,
One more
yep,
thing
yep.
about this.
Please do, please do.
Any threats regarding him saying that he's going to sue people and stuff like that, they're empty threats. He's just trying to basically scare people from actually
Yeah.
doing this.
Which he's got to do, you know what I
Um,
mean? Like he's got to do that. He's got to
for
scare.
the average for your average viewer, I'll just give a little bit of insight. So essentially, for someone to be sued from another country, which is outside the jurisdiction of the country that the person's trying to sue them from,
Russia, for example.
yeah, there needs to be some form of cooperation.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. We had a guy who was really famous. I can't remember his name. He was an infamous Russian carder, right? He was stealing people's, credentials, and he was basically carding, which is the definition is using someone else's, card and buying things and, just fraud, right? He was doing that for a very long time. America, which was the guys, the USA, who wanted to get him, and the United States, and also Europol as well, wanted to get this guy. And I may get some small things wrong about this, but the rough gist is essentially they had to get this guy to travel to a country where the USA had the authority to arrest him before
Yeah.
they could do anything to him. They
Yeah.
couldn't touch him
Yeah.
while he was in Russia.
Yeah.
So the idea that we have a complete great system where every single country cooperates with each other, it's not a real thing. And there's many difficulties to getting stuff like that done. And 99% of cases, if the individual that he's trying to sue is in the same country, he has
Yeah.
more at
Maybe.
his disposal than he
Yeah.
would trying to get someone
And-
overseas.
Something I've noticed about Australia me being an Australian, is nobody on the planet. Like, and I'm just talking from my experience. Okay, being threatened to be sued by entire businesses from, complete different sides of the globe. Nobody on the globe is going to sue some fucking bum from Australia that, like, and I'm Australian. I'm, like, my country's aligned with the US, with France, with England, and we have extradition treaty. But, like, it's insulting to think that an entire country would be like, oh, we're going to go to this guy's house and arrest him because he cheated in a video game and extradite him to fucking Russia, to the fucking gulag, in Russia, a country that we don't even speak to, and put him on trial to get sued. Like, oh my god, it's so insulting.
It's pretty far fetched. I won't be insulted. I'll just kind of laugh at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange take from him.
Yeah.
But continue.
But obviously, he's gotta play the part and pretend that that's a, possibility.
Of course.
I'm
terrified.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's not easy.
I'll just say this. I've made videos that BSG themselves have legally taken down off the internet and threatened to sue me for publishing. And I'll be honest, myself, from Australia, I live in no fear of being sued by BSG. Zero fear. Like 0.00000. Like, but you could just imagine someone's fear, someone who makes a cheat for their game and that lives in a different country. But anyway.
To do again, because literally it takes a lot of time if it comes to the legal processes and everything.
Very good answer from him, though. Very good politically correct answer from him. Very good. Seems like he's actively fighting. But the truth is, not much you could probably do about that,
Is there any plan to implement the kill cam from Arena into the main game, either post-raid or in any shape or form? Because I think that also would help people understand that they didn't die to cheaters, they died to being outskilled, or they did die to a cheater and they weren't outskilled. So either post-raid, kill cam, when the server's finished, like everyone's out of the raid, can they go back and watch it? I think that would help also people being more accurate with reporting of cheaters.
It can be done, but we will need a lot of time to make it right. A lot of time to make it workable, like to store this replay somewhere with that amount of like the raid and sessions that we are having right now. It will be like too hard for us if we will try to make it like some.
What's your take on that? The replay system after raid, and do you think? Look, honestly, I feel like for them to implement that, it would be an insane amount of work. Like, it would be a lot to implement a replay system for an entire raid, and everyone's POV and what's happening, and
it's no easy task.
Yeah.
It is. And what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a kill cam which consists of the 1 minute of gameplay before you died, or are we talking about
an
a
entire raid,
from the
like
very beginning of the raid?
An entire raid where you see exactly everything that person's doing. Essentially, they're running straight to a GPU, and you're talking.
That would be a problem.
You're talking thousands of raids per minute that just get saved onto some imaginary fucking hard drive, and everyone can just view that instantly. And like Rainbow Six Siege done that, and it's like it works. But have you seen that guy's channel? What's that guy's channel? He's an admin for Rainbow Six Siege, and every single game on every single match and every single game is saved eternally. And he can watch them back and watch an entire, and it works. Like, it works.
Yep.
It works. Like,
Being able to facilitate that is the problem, though. That's
Yeah.
the issue here.
yeah,
If you think about where Tarkov's currently at, its release,
Yeah.
we still haven't seen release yet. I do think it will be within the next 12 months, but are we really in a position where we've got these issues with basic performance of the game, where we're talking about implementing a whole new system which allows you to replay the events of the raid?
yeah.
I think it's a bit, again, far-fetched.
And how long's Rainbow Six Siege been out for before they even implemented that? And
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege has been out for a very, very long time.
you're
I don't even know
talking,
what year it was launched.
yeah. You're talking 10 years before an admin can go, okay, this match number, type it in, and then watch the entire replay of that entire 10 years for a finished game.
Yep.
And people are talking like that's a possibility for an unfinished game that is like 10 times the scale Rainbow Six Siege is. Like,
You know what I really like about the replay system? Like, I think the biggest perk, and this is like maybe some people will disagree, but I think a replay system where you could watch the whole raid back would essentially, it would allow the player to put his energy into fighting the problem rather than going on Reddit and just typing some shit.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
The reason these guys put these things in place is they give the players the ability to take matters into their own hands. Yes,
Yeah.
a player shouldn't be able to ban another player based off what they think,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
But giving them the tools to collect evidence to prove that that was the case, or even a replay system where they can see how they died, maybe will help them understand and get better at the game.
Now,
Right.
and I'll say
So-
this, Tarkov tried to do that. They tried to give players with more experience the ability to ban players that they thought were cheating. And
Yep.
it went bad. It went bad because of desync and because of the fact that it's an unfinished game. And sometimes you die to people that you think are cheating that just aren't. You even had game devs in game fighting people and saying that person's cheating. But then that person uploads their FOV to fucking Reddit and they see the person clear as day and gun them down and they get banned 20 seconds later and they're like, what? Why am I banned? I didn't do anything. What? I played this game legit for years. What the hell's this? But then you see their POV and you're like, well, that dude's a shitter. He just got shat on. But it's just desync. Like, that person just got shat on from desync. But then you see the other person's POV and you're like, holy shit, I completely understand why that person thinks they got cheated on. They didn't see nothing. They literally peeked. There's no one there. They die. And of course they're going to assume that they got cheated on. You know what I mean? Like, of course they're going to assume that that person has aimbot. But on the other person's screen, they come around the corner and they see the person for a complete 2-3 seconds before they even gun them down and kill them. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, is this game even in a state where you could just take one person's POV and just assume that that's reality? Because it's not. It's just not. That's not the final. That's not the state of, like, the game's in a bad way. Like, you can't just take one person's POV and assume that that's reality. You just can't.
I think they've come to terms with that, haven't they? Because
Yeah,
obviously
yep.
we'd still see it today if that was the case.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like there are some issues which you mentioned, like desync and stuff like that, which would really give them a bad reputation. That's not how you want to treat your players at all. And even if you do have, like, this goes back to what he was talking about when he talked about invasive anti-cheats and having a separate server for cleaner players and all that stuff, right? It's kind of like, why make your game shit? And why make it shit for nothing? I mean, like all
Yeah.
of these like things that you're trying, they won't avail to anything. It's not going to work. Like you're not going to prevail in beating the cheaters. They're just simply going to get around it.
Yeah.
Why not focus on making your game something where, yes, there's a wipe system where people do cheat and it's quite common that they do it. But why don't you give your players another option? Why not show a little bit of faith to the people that have supported Tarkov for a very long time? I'm surprised that people have put up with this for a while. I mean, it's a fantastic game, and the concept is brilliant. I think it's really cool. But I will say, like, I think people are running out of patience, and this is the problem. And this is, I think, why you see NAKITA's a little bit frustrated here. It's because it's all building up to release, right? And I guess his priority is to deliver a stable game for release.
Yeah.
And then start dealing with the issues. But now he's got one of the biggest people in the community personally kind of at him saying, well, we need to deal with the cheaters, we need to do this, we need to do that. And, he's looking a bit, clusterfucked here. But I genuinely believe, like, if you reduce the motive to cheat in the game, you actually deal with the cheaters in most cases. Like games that don't have progression systems, like you don't really see like a whole like bunch of cheaters. I'll give a
Yeah.
game that I really
No,
think that people should start.
I will say I
You were playing
disagree
it the
with
other
you.
day.
I will say I disagree with you because let's say, for example, PUBG or Call of Duty, there's no progression. There's slight bits of progression where you might get a colourful gun if you kill, 200 people in 20 rounds. There's slight bits of progression. The games like PUBG and Call of Duty and Counter-Strike, those are the games that are most, like, for me personally, those are the games that are the most full of cheaters.
I'll debunk all three. So, CS:GO has been a cheating haven for a very long time. It's where I started, believe it or not.
Yep.
That was the first game I started.
Same.
Like making cheats for. It is literally a haven for cheaters and developers for cheats. So that one's off the thing, and I'll kind of put these in a separate topic. So battle royale games will have this problem. You see the same thing with Fortnite. You see the same thing with Call of Duty Warzone. You see the same thing with Apex Legends, right? Yes, they have progression systems, but they are battle royales. I'm gonna kind of put those to the side because I feel like they're completely different from what we're talking about here, which is kind of like Tarkov. I'd compare Tarkov more like a DayZ community server where you have a white-based system, because they are actually kind of relevant to each other and they do have their similarities. The battle royales, they're very
But
unique.
even the Australian guy that
And
went to the extreme
They're
side.
really competitive. So you have a really high level of competition. So battle royales will always have that problem. I'm pretty sure you're aware of the. I was aware of the Call of Duty Warzone cheating rampage that was going on. It was crazy, And even Apex Legends. I mean, we had only the other day Penguin Zero's talking about the what's it called? The guy who hacked that Apex tournament. I mean, these battle royale games are also dealing with this really, really bad too. I do agree with you. It's a big problem for them, but the motives of why people cheat in those games are completely different from the motives of why people cheat in this game. In my opinion, especially when we're talking about RNT. RNT is a whole new thing as well. Like that's Tarkov. It's massive. It's a big problem. With Apex, and most people are getting banned on Apex as well. With a spectating system too, where you can watch them. The same with Call of Duty. You can spectate them for the rest of the game. There are small little things in place that do help them deal with that. But for Tarkov, they don't have those avenues of escape route to deal with that. To give the player the opportunity to actually see the evidence in front of him and be like, because if, for example, if you die in Call of Duty Warzone and you get absolutely beamed, right?
Yeah.
You can watch that guy for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
No problems. You can watch him play.
And you can report him.
But if you get beamed on Tarkov, yeah, you can record him and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But when you play Tarkov, you die and you have to, off that split few seconds of where you died, you have to make your mind up, was that guy legitimate or not?
Yeah.
And it's a flawed
And
system.
that's the difference between a game that's been finished for 20 years as opposed to a game that's still in development. And I
Yep.
say that to people. It's like you're talking about a game that's still in active development, that's not finished, as opposed to a game that's been finished for 10, 15, 20 years that, you know, has done all that, has implemented all that. It's a finished product. You're
Yeah.
talking, you know, and I said that in one of my recent videos. It's a bit rough to just completely shit on a game that's not finished, that someone made with the vision to do the right thing and create an amazing fucking immersive game. Recently, you know, Call of Duty, like how long has Call of Duty been out? You're talking 30 years of experience. And they're still being completely fucking crushed by cheaters. Still, 30 years later. As opposed to Tarkov, who's what, 6, 7 years into this? Like, that's not a Tarkov issue. That's not a Call of Duty issue. That's a gaming issue. Like, that's gaming in general, you know. And I try to.
But this is my point though. What if it's here's the thing. What if it's not about, you know, completely beating cheaters? You know, because I feel like this is if you go with that kind of line of thought and you go, okay, cool, we're gonna just annihilate cheaters, right? You're not gonna do it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You're not gonna pull it off.
Yeah.
So what can you do, right? And this is what I'm saying is give the players an opportunity to, you know, see with their own eyes if this guy was cheating or not, and give actual accurate reports. And when you can watch the replays, you can upload videos to YouTube, you can publicly shame them, right? And that would make cheaters also scared because they're like, well, what if I end up on a YouTube video? The same way I feel about playing War Thunder. I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to cheat on my account. In fact, I don't want to cheat in general because I've earned all my shit on my account. I don't want to be on some fucking YouTube video saying, yeah, this guy's a fucking cheater, right? Because I'd lose everything. Like all the stuff I spent so long. I've been playing War Thunder since I was like 16.
Yeah.
It's been over like 5 years of playing it, and I've spent a lot of time on that game. It's probably the game I have the most hours on. And I don't cheat because I just don't want to, you know, lose my all my progress. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So that's my point about this. It's not so much like, is one game doing better than another? You know, is that game providing a fair chance for its players to see what's in front of them and allow them to?
And War Thunder's so this is just like sorry to cut you off, but it's just like,
go ahead. Sorry.
It's like, it's fascinating to me that you're more scared to cheat in a free-to-play game.
Yep.
That you grind progression in, as opposed to a game that's $100 per account that you create cheats for. It's like, you know, but at the same time, like thinking logistically and like smartly as a human being, how long has War Thunder been out for? How long has War Thunder been
a very long time?
A very, very long time. Like, they've had a lot of time to put into this game. They've had what? I'll Google it right now. Just give me a second here. I'll Google it real quick.
Released in 2012. There you go.
Okay, 2012.
December 21st.
So you're talking, and is that finished product? Is that like when they finished the game, or is that when they started?
It was first released in 2012. Yeah,
First
and its official release was in 2016, so it was in beta, basically.
2016, okay, so they finished the game in 2016, and is now...
That was full release.
Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7... So 7 years of full release, and you're scared to cheat in War Thunder. After 7 years of full release.
Mhm.
Like, that's the kind of... That's the point I try to make to the Tarkov player base, is you're you're heavily critiquing a game that's still in active development, that's not even on full release yet. Like, the reality is, people won't even be scared to cheat in this game for another 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Like, and that's just the truth. And I'll be honest, when I cheated, I was scared because, like, Tarkov doesn't have a shitty anti-cheat. Tarkov doesn't, just, like, you get banned in Tarkov pretty easily. Like, and they're still in active beta. Imagine in 5 years' time when the game's been finished for 3 years and, like, they're not doing too bad. Like, in my opinion, as someone who's done the wrong thing. Like, imagine when they've actually been a finished game for 3 years, 5 years. They're not going to be doing too bad because they're not doing too bad now. They get roasted for how they're doing now for an unfinished product. But I just feel like people are a little bit harsh. Like, the player base is a little bit harsh solely because there's no other game doing what Tarkov is doing, and there's no other game that's, has the vision that BSG has and is making a game like BSG, because no other game is. Like, you can't play a game like Tarkov, and there's no other game like it. There's just not. And kudos to them for that. Like, and I'll even say that as someone who's cheated and done the wrong thing. Like, Tarkov is fucking, for me personally, it is an amazing game, and I respect it a ton. And even playing it legit, like, it is like the vision that they have for the game. And let's just wipe cheaters out of the game. Let's just wipe people doing the wrong thing completely out of the game. Let's just say only people were playing the game legit, and you knew every time you loaded into a lobby that it was a legit lobby. It would be the fucking best game on the planet. Like, it would, just like DayZ was, when I used to play DayZ on Xbox when I first started playing. And you would load in, and you just knew that like 90 to 98% of people were legit. And it was just the most heart-pumping experience of your life, and you're just in a completely open wasteland of players that, like, it was just fucking like, you would go from an hour of, fucking killing animals and barely surviving to then being in a gunfight with someone else who was 98% legit. It was just the most fucking, like, heart-pumping experience in gaming I've ever had in my life. And those times gaming is when that's gaming. You know what I mean? Like, that is what gaming's about. And I feel like, my opinion, as someone who's done the wrong thing and the right thing, is that people are just a little bit too harsh on, these, like, a company like BSG that have a vision that will probably get there one day. They're just a little bit too harsh at the time being for a company that's in very early. And I've even had emissaries say this to me when I was a rage cheater and when I was rage cheating on them, and I was saying to them, I've got clips of it, I've got videos of it, I can play it, where I'm literally saying to them, why is the game so broken? Why is the game full of cheaters then? If you're an emissary, answer these questions. Why is the game so broken? I can rage cheat on you right now. What are you going to do about it? And I've literally got videos of to prove that. And they were saying the same things to me. They were like, you're talking about a game that's not even finished. You're talking about a game that's in active development. You're talking about a game that's not even a finished product. That they're pushing out to try and make money to finish the game. Because if they didn't do that, they wouldn't be able to finish it. And it's like, it just feels a little bit harsh to completely shit on a game that's not finished, that's not, that. And I had people telling me that, and at the time I didn't listen, I didn't understand it, but now that, I'm a little bit older and mature, and I'd seen both sides, I sort of understand what they were trying to say to me, It's, yeah.
See, like, what I was gonna say was, like, I think what I try and do, rather than like abuse the game too much for their current like predicament, I kind of base it more off like what they're saying they're gonna do. Like this video right here. Um, I have a lot more of an easier time critiquing what they believe the fix is. You know, he hasn't really gone into like explicit detail about like
Yeah.
the more invasive anti-cheat and stuff like that. But I have a rough estimate of what they plan to do. Obviously, you got to bear in mind like part of my job, like you essentially you have to. This is like the rule for making like third-party applications for games. If you can exploit games, make cheats. It's a 50-50 split. You've got your reverse engineering of the game itself, and you've got implementing your cheat, right? So basically, what you find is essentially you'll become either a real nerd with when it comes to reverse engineering the game,
Yeah.
and understanding how it works, and having a good eye for exploits. Um, but you also got to implement the code. So obviously you got to remember the code of the game is done by Unity. They use Unity, right?
Yeah.
And some of those exploits, it doesn't matter what they do, there's going to be vulnerabilities because it's not their own engine. Yeah, they can't perfect it. They do mention a Unity update, and I mean, yes, it might help a little bit, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that also applies to the game. Giving strong opinions about it for me is not really like uh, a good investment of time for myself. I think just talking about how they plan to gauge the problems is more a value for money in terms of time for me. You know?
Yeah. All right. So, what's your outlook on the future of Escape from Tarkov, and whether you think cheating will get worse or better as in the future? As being someone who is on the opposing team,
Mhm.
will it get harder for you or easier for you?
Definitely harder. You know, but that's the game we play. As the time progresses, they take more, action to make sure it's harder for me to do my job on my end. And I work harder and harder and harder to find exploits which they haven't covered yet. And we play
Sorry to
this
cut you off.
game.
Sorry to cut you off. Is it easier now to exploit them while they're in early access as opposed to once they're fully released?
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. The best time to find exploits is after when they add them, because, like when they add them, there's going to be vulnerabilities most likely. So one of the things like um, anyone would look for if they were in my position would be like, okay, if they add a new feature or something like that, there's more likely to be less security or less protection on that sort of element, and you could also maybe find some things that kind of string off from that. So I won't go into an insane amount of detail, but I'll just say like as they implement new things, there are new exploits. So it's always going to be this game. It's never going to change. The question is essentially for in terms of what I think the best approach would be for them. It depends. The answer to your question is it's kind of like the answer depends on what course of action they take. And my honest advice to them would be to essentially ignore what people are saying to you on Reddit, like a lot of them, because a lot of these comments are fueled by anger towards the game, and they call for drastic action. And the real way to deal with these problems is with a logical standpoint. So, obviously being fueled by these ideas of, oh yeah, listen to community. That's why these guys have implemented things such as players with more experience can ban players who have less experience. Like these would have never been good calls ever. You know,
Yeah.
the game wasn't performing to its absolute best. We mentioned desync. There are some serious flaws with implementing things like that. That's a proven example of them, you know, listening and biting down on the word of the people, the players, and they are frustrated, and I don't blame them for being so. But that it also doesn't mean that they're the ones that can fix this problem. It just means that they are basically a victim in all of this, which I respect and understand. But I will say that if you're not willing to look at this from a, common sense standpoint and understand it from both sides, I'm not saying you need to become like a nerd or have no life, but I'm just saying, like, before people talk about it, they should think about, the real issues, and the factors of which need to be concerned when we're talking about the game itself, because we know that the cheating problem isn't just something that consists with battle state games. It's a BATTLEYE issue. It's a Unity issue, right?
Yeah.
These are completely separate things. So pointing the finger at one person is not the fix, right? There are multiple things that need to be done collectively to make sure this project continues and succeeds, which I hope it does. I said I plan to walk away from what I'm doing at the moment, so I don't go to the gulag. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I wish the best for them, but I genuinely think that they should probably not listen to some of the comments regarding the current state of the game,
Yeah.
and think from a logical standpoint of how they could counteract your day-to-day cheater.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, it's just as someone who's like, I'm just talking from my experience as someone who's done the wrong thing and the right thing. Like, I see NAKITA react to these interviews and react to things that people say, and I just think honestly, myself, I can't help but admire him because he's not just going through an issue of solely a BSG issue. Like, this is an issue in gaming. Like, this is, in my opinion, everyone's going through this, and I just can't help but feel for the dude because he has this vision for, and in my opinion, this is just my opinion. It might not be other people's opinions, but he has this vision for a fucking amazing game. Like, if you think about this game, it's like it's the end of the world. You're in your own little fucking bunker. It's the end of the world. And I'll be honest, when I lay in bed at night with my partner and my children, I sit there and think in my head, what if that's the reality of the world? What if that's what happens? And when I play this game, I live as if that's my reality, and I love the vision of the game. Like, I fucking love it. Like, I love the vision of the game, and I love where they're trying to take it. And
Yep.
like, even as myself as an adult with children, and my biggest fear is, the end of the world and what I would do and how I'd protect my children and my partner, and when I play this game, I try, like, it puts me in that position, and I try and play as if that would be the case, and I love the vision, and I love, kind of like I did with DayZ. DayZ is the exact same vision, it's the end of the world. How were you gonna carry yourself? And it's an amazing fucking vision. I love it. Like, I love it. I respect it, and it just sucks that it's being portrayed in gaming, and gaming is just in such a shit place. But it kind of makes me feel bad for the dude. Like, I can't help but respect him, but at the same time, it's like, what I'm trying to ask is, basically, do you, like, in the future, do you think Tarkov will end up being completely destroyed, or do you think it will get better?
That depends it depends on the man on your screen right now. I mean, it's up to him, the fate of the game. It's up to his motivation whether he's willing to continue this long out fight. I think that
Do you
we
hope
already
so?
established.
Do you hope so?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I have no bad wishes for these guys. They've never wronged me, and I think obviously the there's a certain opinion about them now, which I don't think is too nice to have. I mean, yes, it's kind of well founded, but um, I think that Nikita Buyanov is the person that decides whether this becomes a success or a failure. But I suggest he looks towards his peers, people that have, made a game like the games we've been describing. People have done the same thing he's done and have made that journey. A lot of them accept that there is no one sole fix for cheaters, and if there was, it would have been out by now. We're now finding ourselves talking about cheaters in multiple different games. It's not just a one game problem. This is cross platform. There's cheats for mobile now, right? There's a friend of mine has a community, Roblox. He used to own it. He sold it, but it was a Roblox cheating community, and it had over 140,000 people in that Discord for mobile cheat. This whole like the P2C market has been expanding massively as the gaming communities got bigger as well, right? Massive help to it was obviously COVID-19 with everybody being at home and gaming. Gaming became a hobby which wasn't just enjoyed by people that were previously gamers and wanting to spend more time and could dedicate more time to playing. It even brought people who had never really gamed before and decided that, oh well, I can't leave the house, so let's buy a PlayStation, and then that PlayStation becomes a PC, and they enter the wonderful world of gaming. I still think that video games are awesome; they're really cool. But I do hope, and I do think that Nikita will eventually do the right thing, and I think in my opinion, the right thing is to understand that this is not an issue that can be solved by himself or the team at BATTLEYE. It's something that will fix itself over time, but it's kind of like political topics at the moment. I won't get into any of them specifically, but I'll say that it's like the more people talk about them, the more the problem kind of remains. And the way that you would reduce people talking about the cheating problem is by preventing players from going on social media and talking bad about the game. As I said, I don't want to repeat myself. I think I've repeated myself a lot today.
Yeah,
but
same.
I'll say this: giving the players an opportunity to observe and see the way that they've been killed and to make their own judgment on whether they were killed by a legitimate player or an illegitimate player is a real big step towards making Tarkov a better place, and also showing that you appreciate the opinions of the players. You're going to create a system. I hope he does it after release.
That's what DayZ did wrong. That's what DayZ never solved. Sorry to cut you off, but that's what DayZ never solved. Was I killed by someone who was better than me, or was I killed by someone who was using a program? And that's what DayZ never solved, and they never ever worked on it. And that's what fucking just crushed me as someone who played DayZ for 5 years of my life. Was like, am I just not good enough? Am I just... But then when you cheat, and it's like, okay, everyone's cheating. Everyone's fucking cheating. And it just crushes you, and you're like, okay, that's the reality. That's what's going on. But then it's like the same thing with Tarkov. And when you first cheat, and anyone who's watching this has cheated before and seen the reality of, that's what happens when you play Tarkov. You look around a lobby and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's what's going on. Everyone's cheating, And that's what sucks. And I feel like that would help people that are doing the right thing. I agree with you heaps on that. It's like that would help people understand, like, okay, I got cheated on or I didn't, and I feel like that would help.
Show the community that they're appreciated. I think that's when people will start really backing you in your endeavor to make this.
Interesting question though. How would that affect you?
Quite frankly, I wouldn't give a shit. If he could do a good job at making my life harder, good on him. I honestly, it's fine. As I said, I have no problem stepping away from what I'm doing moving forwards.
Would you step away if he did that? If there was a perfectly implemented replay system where you could see 5 minutes before you were killed, would you step away from Tarkov? Be honest. Be honest. Be honest.
I'll give you a hypothetical. So basically, I would probably be away from the P2C by that time it's implemented in any ways, because by the time it gets to release, we're looking at 12 months.
Yeah.
I'd probably be gone.
Yeah.
So
let's say magically today he said, "Guys, I'm surprising you. Guess what? Today you can now see 5 minutes before you were killed from your enemy's perspective." What would you do? What would you do?
Well, I'd still sell the product. I mean, it's the duty of the customer using the product to make sure he doesn't get caught.
Obviously,
right?
But
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
What would be your outlook?
I mean, if a customer asks me, it's kind of a you problem. You know what I mean? Like,
obviously, but what? So let's say you decided to stay in the Tarkov,
Yeah, I could stay. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Would that change things for you? How would you have to change things?
Honestly,
it would be up to the player, right? It would be up to the player.
But this is what my whole point is. My whole point is you're not making it shit for the developer. You're making it shit for the customer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Why do we do this? We do this for money, right?
Yeah.
What gives us the money? The customer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who uses the product? The customer.
Yeah.
Right? They need the motivation to use it. But if you make it shit or scary for them to use it, they're not going to use it. I've just told you that I'm scared to play a free-to-play game. With cheats.
Yeah.
Because of a replay system where I don't want to lose my account. So I mean, the answer's right there. It would seriously deter cheaters. You're asking me if it would affect me. As I said, frankly, I don't give a shit because I don't play the game.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. People are still going to pay for it. It's up to them. Because
if they want to take the risk, it's up to them. But he's making more means of which they can get caught and more means to be scared to cheat.
Now, conversations I've had with you in the past and conversations I've enjoyed having with you is, like, for someone to stop cheating, what makes it, like for me to stop cheating in Tarkov, now, what makes it shit to cheat in a video game like Tarkov? What makes it not worth cheating?
Okay. So again, it would kind of go down to what the person using the product desired from using the product. So I could answer this question in depth, but I'm not going to do it because I think I'd give them a few things that I wouldn't want to say here.
Yeah.
Because if they implemented them, my life would become a lot more difficult. But I would say that essentially, if using cheats means that you have to hide yourself so much, it becomes so stressful and not worth it that eventually the customers will have to, walk away or, play legit. They'd have to change their ways.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's really like it's down to that. Is it fun to cheat in Tarkov? And if it's fun to cheat in Tarkov, people are going to pay for the cheats. If the people didn't pay for the cheats, the developers wouldn't make the cheats, right? Rather than trying to sue people and send them to a gulag, why don't you focus on making it shit to pay for cheats? Because remember, these guys are paying for it. It's not like they're getting it for free, right? So, and we're talking like, some of these products. I'll refer to the GOAT video. Those guys are charging like probably like $10 a day.
In some cases,
I don't know
if they pay for weekly or monthly, or if they pay for monthly, it's like $3 a day.
Yeah, so it's like if you're gonna pay like money and it's gonna be so risky to do it, like it's just really not there, and it's not there anymore. The motivation to do it's not there. You're gonna be more scared. Manual bans are gonna be a lot more common, especially if there's like if people record the replays and upload them, etc. And by the way, that's just one avenue of which we're talking about, which is like a replay system, right? If they if they there's more things I could mention, but as I said, I'm not getting paid by them, so I'm not going to say them. But there's other things they could do as well, which would make it even more difficult for cheaters to operate and get used to the way that they're trying to catch them, right? Because as you've mentioned, and you're correct in saying, there is a current ongoing war of I think like an arms race between the anti-cheat and the cheat devs, and then also the game devs are also having a go at the cheat devs too, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're seeing. But if you just isolate it to that and you don't actually target any other avenues, it's not really going to change the situation. And Nikita Bianov will find himself in maybe 3 years' time doing the same interview, squirming around in his chair talking about suing people. I
I nearly
I would
choked on my
really
drink.
I think he could definitely take some easier steps.
Yeah.
Is definitely what I'm implying here.
It's fucking-
What he mentioned was definitely not the viable route.
I just
to,
breathed in
to
rum
go
and
down.
coke. I just breathed in rum and coke, by the way.
Oh, my apologies.
I'm gonna sue someone in fucking England from Russia because they're making cheats for my game. I'm from Russia, and England
Not
is
them
gonna.
as well, because I'm moving in 2 months. So
Or
I'm
fucking,
leaving
I don't know,
in 2
fucking
months.
US or Australia,
Luckily, it would be
This
as
is
likely
fucking-
if I moved to Moscow.
As
But
if,
I'm not.
like, you're to call up the embassy in Australia and be like, hey, someone in your country is making cheats for my video game in Russia. Can you arrest them and fucking produce them to court for me so I can sue them?
Yeah, he'll find himself in the same interview. I mean, that will be the case if he continues to talk about, lowering the FPS. I mean, like, it'd probably be downvoted posts in Reddit history if they went out there and said, "We're gonna lower the FPS of the game." You got people who've got like, my friend's got 12 FPS on streets. You think he's got FPS to give up?
Lower his
Like-
FPS to 1. Lower
He's
his
now on 3
FPS to
FPS,
1.
guys, but at least there's no cheaters.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know if anyone noticed as well as there's a war going on right now, there's
Yeah.
also a bit of a financial crisis. Everyone's
Yeah.
getting a bit, everyone likes printing money right now. And the problem is like,
Russia's completely
yeah.
cut off from the globe. No one wants to do business with them at all. They're on like an
and everyone in
embargo
the
right
West
now.
is also, everyone in the West is paying to support the current conflict. And also you've got stuff in the Middle East as well that's kicking off too. So we're basically funding all of that stuff. And, people don't have the money to buy stupid, ridiculous PCs, 4090s,
Yeah.
a dual 490 setup on their PC to run Streets of Tarkov on the clean version of the game. Just fuck off and give us no wipe and a server that wipes, okay?
Yeah.
And it won't be that difficult. It won't take you that long. Do it after release, of course, once the performance of the game is better, everything's stable.
See, I'll give you like an example of a guy, his vision for DayZ. There's a guy, I'm not going to name him. Okay, there's a guy. He played DayZ legit for many years. He cheated. He did the wrong thing in DayZ. But then he made a DayZ community server that he adminned himself. Now, being a cheater, he knew where the state of cheats were, and he now currently runs the most successful DayZ community server that makes a lot of money in a failed game that he admins himself. Now, do you think, this is what I want to ask you. I really want to ask this because I'm just really interested in it, because this is what saved DayZ for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't know this, but the people that saved DayZ for a lot of people were the people that were doing the wrong things, that decided, I love DayZ, I love the concept of DayZ, I did the wrong thing, I don't want people to do the wrong thing, I want people to have a place where they can do the right thing, And I'll be honest, I'm someone who came to that server and did the wrong thing. It's very fucking hard to come to that server and do the wrong thing. Do you think
Yep.
Tarkov could go to where DayZ went and implement private? Because I know I did this myself. I hosted private PvP events in private PvP tournaments that I admin myself. And I'll be honest and own this, people still got through and cheated in those events that I didn't notice were cheating until later, that I fucking spoke to, and the people that didn't own up and the people that didn't just be honest to me, I fucking posted on my channel and exposed. And there's people that did own up and do the right thing that I didn't. And I said that to people. I said I've got videos to prove it. I literally said to them, I'm someone who's cheated in this game. You're talking to a cheater. You can't fool me. I'm not an idiot. If you just be honest with me, you can never compete in my events again. I will just kick you from my events and that's it. Please stop doing the wrong thing. And the people that lied to me, I exposed them and made a video about it. And some people did, and I didn't, and some people didn't. And I made videos about them, which I can prove that right now with videos that I've made. But do you think Tarkov could go to the way DayZ did with private servers and private... Because I'll be honest, cheating in DayZ is 1,000 times easier on official as opposed to community. Do you think Tarkov could make community-based servers with community-based admins that streamers and people with verified accounts could play on for now until the game's finished, and it would be a safe place to play?
Honestly, the level of difficulty it would be for them to actually implement that would be insane. But let's say, for example, they did. DayZ, obviously using the same anti-cheat, we're using BATTLEYE, and their DayZ's approach to dealing with cheaters was kind of what I just mentioned, which was giving the people who were, very passionate about the cheating problem a chance to put their frustration and energy into something constructive.
Yeah.
So they created CF tools. You probably know what CF tools
Yeah, I know exactly what CF tools is.
So it basically gives them the ability to view players, observe them.
Yeah.
And there's some really good videos from...
Yeah. And I'll tell you something right now, a lot of things that most people don't know is the people that are reviewing them are people that used to cheat in DayZ. People that are very knowledgeable in how cheats work, and people that... And a lot of people don't know that, but the most highest community-based server in DayZ, the admins and the people that run the highest pop servers in DayZ is people that used to cheat and do the wrong thing, and people that make a lot of money making servers for people that do the right thing because they know how it works and they know what goes on and they know how to stop people from doing the wrong thing.
So this is like a good example of, again, like what happens when you give people the means to take care of the situation as well. You're not solely handing over the torch to them to deal with the cheaters and carry on the fight by themselves. Alongside with the anti-cheat, if the cheat's detected, they get banned by BATTLEYE regardless. But essentially, if the product is something which is, well done, and it's something, done by very experienced developers, it's like they're probably not going to get detected, and the best way to catch them out is by catching their users. If they can catch the users, then once you get banned on DayZ as well with CF tools, they will basically these servers use a VPN block, so you won't be able to get back into their servers unless you have a specific type of VPN. I won't go into detail how to evade a ban because that's not why I'm here.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, there are good measures they put in place to make it difficult for individuals to come back and play, and they have very good ways of linking Steam accounts. So if you try and play on a new Steam account, they can also catch you.
Now,
Right.
I'll say
They're
this.
taking-
I'll say this. I hosted PvP events, okay? Now, the 2 PvP events that I hosted, okay? The first one that I hosted, I don't want to say specific numbers, but the guy that came first was legit. Now, the guys, I won't say exactly who, but I'll say from 2nd to about 7th, I confronted those people for doing the wrong thing. And now, a couple of them admitted to doing the wrong thing in the past, and I told them they can never compete in my events again, and I didn't expose them. I told them, you can't compete in my events again, and that's why some of them didn't. And then my second event, the guy who came first, I could not find 1 ounce of him cheating whatsoever. Then there was from 2nd to about 8th, where I found evidence that they'd cheated in the past in other games, and I confronted them. A couple of them admitted to me about cheating in the past in other games, and a couple of them didn't. And I specifically told people, I'm not dumb, I've cheated in the past, you're talking to someone who cheats. Don't treat me like a fucking idiot, just be honest with me. And there was people who didn't, and I said to them, are you sure you want to go this route? I'm not dumb, I know how cheating works, I'm a cheater. And I can prove that. Like, I literally have the videos still to this day. And something, even me, as someone who used to cheat that I fucking hate that eats away at me, is someone who spends their entire day for years pretending they don't cheat and playing legit, quote unquote, and pretending to be a crack player. I hate fucking people like that. Like, the people like that, someone that use a program and pretend they're legit when they're not. Like, those are the people that fucking, like, cause I was blatant when I cheated. Like, I was so blatant. I used to get off on being blatant. But when I had people that would treat me like an idiot, when I know what cheating is, and I know how cheating works, and I know, it used to really fucking, and I'd give people chances. Like, I would say to people, and I can prove it. I can show so many conversations with people, like recorded conversation, and I record conversations I have with people, and I would say to them, look, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a cheater. You're talking to a cheater. And no one's exposed me for this, which blows my mind. Not one of these people has exposed me and shown and recorded and shown anything I've ever said, but the amount of times I've confronted people behind the scenes and said, you're talking to a cheater. I've cheated. I know what you're doing. Don't treat me like an idiot. Just please be honest with me. Just don't compete in my events. Go away. You can stay in my community. You can, I'm not someone's going to get you banned. I don't care. Just don't treat me like an idiot. Just be honest with me. Nothing else gets said from this point forward. You just can't compete in my events anymore. And that's fine. And I'll be honest with you, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 people that did that to me, that I did that with. But then there was people who tried to lie to me and treat me like an idiot when I literally sat there and told them I was a cheater. And then I exposed them. Obviously, I cut the bit out where I told them I was a cheater. Like, I've got a video I can show you. I'm pretty sure you would have seen it. Like, you've seen my channel. You remember the Tiggs guy, the guy that killed Tiggs? And posted it in my Discord. Remember that guy? I told that guy. I didn't put it in the video, But I said to him, I said, hey, dude, I'm a cheater. I've cheated. I've cheated for a long time. Please don't treat me like an idiot. Like, please. Come on, dude. Just please be honest with me, and we can just get past this. And, you know, you just can't compete in my events anymore, and you can still be in my community, and we'll never speak about this again. And just please stop cheating. Just please be honest. And then he continued to treat me like an idiot. So, those people, for me, are like, I see that as a challenge. That's like for me, mentally, in my head, it's like, are you going to prove that I'm cheating? How are you going to prove it? Do you want to battle me? How are you going to prove that I'm cheating? Well, you know, am I not going to do that? Am I not going to, and then I post the video and then there's like 600 people saying, yeah, he's 100% cheating. You know what I mean? It's like, people aren't dumb. You know what I mean? I don't know. For me, as someone who used to cheat, the people that annoy me the most are people who try and pretend that they're just this amazing player and they don't cheat. Those are the people that just annoy. Even as a cheater, like as a previous cheater, no one likes that guy. Like, do you agree or?
My feelings towards them aren't so much of like
Wait,
hate,
I know your product. I know. I'm not going to go into details. I know your product. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not going to go into too much detail. You know, that's a high percentage of people that cheat. You know, and do you
Yeah.
agree or?
Well, I'll say this. I feel bad for them that they have to do that, to be honest. I don't really hate anybody, or
Look, I
feel
don't
that strongly
hate
about
them. It just it for me it's a challenge. It's like, okay, I'm going to catch you.
Mhm.
Is that what you want me to catch you? Like, I'll catch you because you're talking to a cheater. You're not talking to some idiot that doesn't know how cheats work. But I'll catch you. Like, I'm not
I mean,
dumb.
if I was confronted in a similar situation, I would have probably just admitted to it very quickly and just, moved
And a
on.
lot of people did.
Um,
A lot of people did, bro. That's what and I never ever. This is all I said to him. You can't compete in my PvP tournaments. You can stay in my community. Like, you can stay in my Discord. You can stay around my channel. Please do the right thing moving forward. And that's it, man. Like, you're talking to someone who used to do the wrong thing. Please stop doing the wrong thing, dude. Have a good day, bro. Like, look after yourself, you know? And I did that a lot. And a lot of people don't know that. Like, I did that a lot. Like, I did that so much, bro. Like, my mod in my Discord, the guy who could literally delete my entire Discord at any second because he literally owned it. Like, he could literally press one button and delete my entire Discord. He was someone who used to cheat in Escape from Tarkov and many other games. And he admitted it to me. And I would talk to him all the time. He was an honest guy who I spoke to one day and he said, Tianaiku, I'm just going to be honest with you, dude. I like what you're doing. I think you're a good person. I used to cheat. And I didn't have the balls to say to him, you know what, bro? I used to cheat too. It's a shit thing to do. And I respect the game. And I just want to grow a community of good people that don't cheat. And I didn't say that to him at the time. And I still talk to this guy. Like, I still do. And I still talk to him. And the conversations are like interesting to me because it's like he had the balls to be honest and I didn't at the time. And the reason I was like able to keep him around and make him mod of my entire Discord and my entire channel and help me with my channel and help me with my Discord and help me with my events is because his ability to be honest. And I respect that more than some person I've never cheated before, but I know what it looks like when someone cheats, but they obviously don't. They don't know what they're talking about. You know, they just assume things. You know, I'd rather someone that, you know, that knows. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like I treated people in a different way that were honest to me as opposed to people that weren't. you know. And as opposed, like when I have conversations with you, you always had the ability to be honest with me, and I appreciated that, and that's why I've spoken to you so much over the last, couple of months, as opposed to people that just don't, and people that just flat out lie to my face, and I have one conversation with them and just think, okay, you're a wanker, you're just full of shit, you're just trying to push cheating propaganda that's complete bullshit, as opposed to someone that's not, who's willing to tell the truth,
I think I remember the first actual exchange of conversation we had. It was on one of your videos, where I was getting sick and tired. I enjoyed your videos, and one thing that was frustrating me was you kept the thing was with the Tarkov cheating scene. Everybody that was caught for cheating by streamers would say that they had their own products and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was and that was even worse, dude, because it was
Yeah.
it's first of all, it's even worse than pretending you're legit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a saying in life, right?
Yeah.
You're either smart enough to do it yourself, or you're rich enough to pay someone to do it for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how it works. You either have enough money to pay someone like me to give you that, or you can build it yourself. But building it yourself would take years and years and years of experience.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had a situation where we did find somebody who did an interview and wasn't being fully honest about his background. All you need to do was ask him a couple of questions regarding C++, and his years of experience, and exactly how he, what he does for his cheat. What is he? What's his method of overlay? Is he internal, external? What's the difference between an internal and an external? Just giving him some technical questions, which are extremely basic questions. Some customers could probably answer those questions, to be honest. But immediately he's like, oh, and I was I just said it for fun and stuff like that. I'm just dude, come on, you're giving everyone a bad rep, going on here sounding like an idiot. It was it kind of reminded me that a lot of these guys that were cheating were kind of ashamed to admit. Either he's ashamed to admit. We're going back in psychology realm again. Get ready.
Yeah. Put your coat on. Put your coat on.
He's jackets on.
Yeah.
We're in business.
Yeah.
What I think is some of these guys maybe are ashamed to have to pay for this. I don't. Here's the thing. Either you're paying for it because you can't make it yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is you want to be goated at the game. You want to be an absolute Chad, right?
Yeah.
And that means having the advantage, the ESP, right, that nobody else has.
Yeah.
You would think, but that's not. Obviously, that sort of mindset is where games can really go downhill. Is once one person has that thing, somebody else wants it, and then somebody else wants it, and somebody else wants it, and when they start noticing that they're dying to those people that have those special tools which they don't, they then want it. And that's how a victim can turn into, a hardened criminal when we're talking about cheating on Tarkov. It's a very easy route to take, especially if you're kind of weak-minded and you're oh, well, if I just get cheats, I'll be fine. But to be honest, I honestly hope that they do deal with the situation moving forwards, and I think the best thing to do is not to rush anything, not to entertain stupid videos where you allow streamers to put pressure on you and try and press you for things and put you in an uncomfortable position where you're forced to answer questions that you really shouldn't be answering right now. The game is still in beta. You haven't even released yet.
Yeah.
I know people have been playing the game, they worship the game, that's great, right? But you obviously have to trust the process. And I think that if you give them the time and space, they'll do some stuff to help the situation. I think they will. I believe that they'll make it a better game, and I hope they do.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Is there any questions you want us to conclude with?
Trying to think. I've pretty much covered all the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. Or it's been covered at some point.
Start to make it right now. Now we'll spend like
Guess we'll just watch the final of the video, and if there's any more points you want to add, let me know.
several months or even more time for that, and we cannot allow it to be happen because literally we have more important stuff to do. And we will think about it. We will think about something that will give like clarification, additional clarification, how you died actually. We will think about it.
Okay. And the last one I have is, and I know you said no in the past, but I'm going to ask again. Compensation. So when you get a successful report, did someone just get like, I don't know, 100,000 rubles?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just stupid. Get compensated if someone cheats on you. That would be pretty much every second life in Tarkov. So I don't know. Yeah.
Kind of pointless. I mean, like, you would want to get rid of the cheaters rather than compensating players for dying to them. I can tell that these sort of opinions are being voiced from Reddit.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, probably someone's down bad, they've died to someone they think's cheating, and now saying that, oh, Tarkov should implement a system where they give money. Like, yeah, it's very unique and special to you, but you really think that's the solve to the problem? Do you think cheaters are gonna, you know, go, oh no, I don't want to kill him because he's gonna get 100,000 rubles if I'm reported? You know, that's not what we're here for. You know, you're asking problems about cheating, right? I don't think this is a it's probably the worst suggestion.
Yeah.
Second place is the mobile authentication.
Yeah.
You can continue.
Alright, we'll play.
It's not that much, but it makes them feel like they got something for it. Or are you worried about people mass reporting every single death in case they get some money back?
If people will start mass reporting, right? And another thing that we should know, like if that particular guy were reported by several people, we need to find how to share it between people. And,
no, you just give them all. Give them all the same amount. Money, okay, I don't know how much you players go through Tarkov, but people blow through money very quickly. So even if you were to give out 100,000 rubles to every person that died.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much
He gave his point there. I'll just say this. He gave a point regarding 100,000 rubles, and then he immediately, before NAKITA even got a chance to get a word in, completely debunked why it sucks.
Yeah.
Within like the first like millisecond after saying it. Yeah, it's like a thing that could be exploited, and it doesn't achieve anything. Honestly, it's 100,000 rubles. It's not like a good approach.
All right, well, that's pretty much it. I'm probably gonna run this live, and then I'll completely like edit it and chop it up and chuck it on YouTube. But that's pretty much it, man. So
Sure, no worries.
After this, we're off record. All right, we'll have our discussion. All right, I'm pressing the stop now.